Madam Clerk?
Yes, we do.
Thank you very much. This time I'd like to thank the Vice Mayor Marino for carrying on in my absence and my colleagues as well. I am back and we're ready to go. We have proof of publication. And so if I could have a motion, we have proof of publication, Madam Clerk. So if I could have a motion,
I'll make a motion to receive and file.
Very good. We have the first by the Vice Mayor, second by Commissioner, what's your name again? Weiss. That's very good. Commissioner Weiss. I've gone for a week and look what happens, right? See all those for, anybody opposed, see that it passes unanimously. And now if we could have the attorney please swear in those who wish to testify today.
All those wishing to speak or testify on today's items, please rise and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Now, if we could have notice of any amendments to the agenda. Any amendments to the agenda?
Good morning, Mayor. We do have one amendment to the agenda related to item number 4, DOA 2023-869 for TMU MUPD. We are amending the development order amendment, specifically in Exhibit C1, item 3, condition 3 and 4 is being amended. And that's all.
Very good. Could I have a motion now to adopt the agenda as amended? I see a first by Commissioner Weiss, second by Commissioner Woodward. All those for, anybody against? See that it passes unanimously. Commissioner Baxter.
I would like to pull that item from consent. It was given to us last minute. I just kind of wanted some background on it.
Okay. And which item do you wish to pull from consent at this?
The ad, the number 4, the number 4, yep, items 3 and 4.
You wish to pull items 3, which is Prodigy Early Learning Center?
No, number 4, the DOA, the amendment.
MUPD?
I'm trying to figure, they just added this, and I would like an explanation on what the amendment does and why they amended it.
Very good. Okay. We have somebody from, Wendy, would you like to explain a little bit about the, okay. Is there anybody else who wishes to pull anything from the consent agenda at this time? Okay, seeing none. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda without number 4, DOA 2023-00869? Okay, we have a first by Commissioner Weiss, second by Commissioner Woodward. I'll catch you next time. All those for, anybody against, see that it passes unanimously at this time. Okay, now that we have accepted the consent agenda as amended, Mr. Rutter, did you want to say something? You don't have a light on, but
Sorry,
I can see that you...
Apologize. Make sure you're just going to cover disclosures. Disclosures.
Yes, okay. Now we're going to do, now the consent agenda as amended has been approved. Now we're going to look into the disclosures. Mr. Attorney?
I think what you just approved was adopting the agenda, and now you're going into the consent agenda.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Okay. So let's do the disclosures at this time. Very good. And we're going to start from left to right. Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you, Mayor. For item number 1, no disclosures. Item number 2, I've had verbal communications with Andrew Van Valen, Jack Kosick, Bonnie Schmidt, Denise Anderson, Jeff Bookscomb, Lynn Taylor, Matt Pisiata, Mike Myers, Joe Giampietro. Item number 2, I've had written communication correspondence, no site visit. Item number 3, no verbal communication. I have, yes, had correspondence, no site visit. So we're not doing item number 4 now, right? Okay.
No, not at this time. Not until we
Thank you. Item number 5, no disclosures. Item number 6, no verbal communication. I've had written correspondence and no site visit. Item number 7, no disclosures. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. All right, Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. For item number 1, no disclosures. For item number 2, verbal communications with Andrew Van Valen, Jack Kosick, Bonnie Schmidt, Denise Anderson, and correspondence through email. For item number 3, no disclosures. Item number 5, no disclosures. Item 6, no disclosures, and 7, no disclosures.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Weiss.
On the consent agenda, I have, on item number 2, I had verbal communication. My staff spoke with Andrew Von Valen, and that's it for the consent agenda.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Mac Bernard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On item number 1, I've had verbal communication with Joni Brickman and Cliff Hertz. And item number 2, I've had verbal communications with Andrew Van Valen. Those are my disclosures, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Baxter.
Thank you, Mayor. For item number 3, I had no written communication, and I had a phone call with Matt Barnes and no site visit. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor Marino.
Thank you. I have no disclosures on the items. I did meet with the applicant on number 2, but that was prior to the zoning application being filled.
Okay, thank you very much. And the mayor's disclosure is on item number 2, verbal communications in a meeting with Andrew Van Valen. Item number 7, verbal communications with Lori Vinegar, Beth Ann Middlebrook, Jerry O'Reilly, Kevin Thibault, and Chip Carlson, and emails and correspondence that have been received and filed. That completes the disclosures at this time. What we're going to do is we have a motion at this time to receive the consent agenda as amended. Commissioner Weiss?
Yes, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended, less item number 4.
Very good. And I have a second with Vice Mayor Marino. All those for, anybody opposed, see that it passes unanimously. Okay, now, if I may, Mr. Attorney, can we move on to the item that has been removed from the consent agenda for information from the staff?
Yes, now that you're on regular agenda, items pulled from the consent agenda is the first item.
Very good. Okay, if we could hear from staff in response to Commissioner Baxter's inquiry about that one item that's been amended.
So your question is relative to the add, delete, and the conditions that are on there. So the applicant or the property owner has a current approval. As part of their approval, they're required to do a unity of control. They recorded a unity of control. It wasn't sent to staff for review. It's missing information. So we had to do a condition of approval for them to terminate that unity and do a new one so that we can review it and it can be re-recorded.
Thank you.
Any further questions, Commissioner Baxter?
I'll make the motion to approve item number 4.
Very good. And I guess we probably need disclosures right before we do that. So let's go on, and I'm going to start again. Commissioner Barnett, do you have any disclosures, God bless you, as to that one item that was pulled?
Thank you, Mayor. No disclosures for item 4.
Very good. Commissioner Woodward?
No disclosures.
Commissioner Weiss?
Yes, my staff spoke with Bradley Miller, and we received email correspondence.
Very good. Commissioner Barnett? Commissioner Mac Bernard?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have no disclosures for this item.
And Commissioner Baxter?
No disclosures, Mayor.
Vice Mayor?
No disclosures at this
And
time.
none by the mayor, so that completes the requirement for the disclosures. And now I'd like to see a motion. I think we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Baxter to approve that one item that was moved from the consent agenda, and I have a second by Commissioner Woodward. All those for, anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously. on that one item that was pulled from the agenda, consent agenda. Now we are ready to move to the regular agenda at this time. And the first one on the agenda, and this, of course, is the comprehensive plan amendments with concurrent zoning applications. The first is LGA 2024-0001. Sounds like this was the first item for this new year, right? That's kind of exciting. And this is Verdura Farms. Should we have a staff report? We don't need it, or?
We can discuss item 8 and 9 for staff. And if you'd like to do disclosures on 9, right here at the beginning, you guys can do that
Okay.
before we present.
Let's see what the will of the commission is. Everybody wish to hear from the staff specifically on 9. All right, doesn't seem there's a lot of takers, so
Okay.
we don't need to hear from you. So let's hear from the applicant at this time, sir.
Disclosures.
Disclosures again. These disclosures, they really get in the way sometimes. Okay, on the regular agenda, and this time we're going to start with you, Commissioner Baxter. Disclosures on items 8 and 9. 9.
Just 9.
On disclosures on item 9. Go right ahead, Commissioner Baxter.
Thank you, Mayor. I met with Ken Tuma, Henry Handler, and Andrew Maxey. No written communication and no site visit.
Very good. Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've met with Henry Handler, Ken Tuma, and Andrew Maxey, and I've received correspondence and no site visits. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Very good. Thank you very much. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you. On item number 9, I had verbal communication with Ken Tuma, Tyler Woolsey, Andrew Maxey, Amy Carlson, Henry Handler, and Roland Yee. I received email correspondence.
Very good. Thank you. And Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you. On item 9, I had verbal communication with Henry Handler, Patrick Gonzalez, Ken Tuma, Andrew Maxey, Tyler Woosley, and email correspondence.
Very good. And Vice Mayor, Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you, Mayor. I've had verbal communications with Henry Handler, Ken Tuma, Andrew Maxey, Tyler Woosley, Patrick Gonzalez. Have correspondence, no site visit. Thank you.
Thank you. And Vice Mayor Marino.
Thank you, Mayor. I met with Henry Handler, Ken Tuma, Tyler Woolsey, Andrew Maxey, Amy Carlson, and received emails.
Very good. And the mayor's disclosure on item number 9, verbal communications with Henry Handler, Ken Tuma, Roland Yee, Risa McCara, Michelle Burns, Andrew Maxey, Amy Carlson, Carolyn McKay, and I've received and filed the emails and the correspondence with the clerk. That concludes the disclosures, and I think we can proceed with the applicants. Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Good.
Madam Mayor,
We
just
have-
hold
yeah.
on one second.
Yes, Mr. Bernard.
You know what? I'm going to copy some of those disclosures that you've disclosed on this item, because I've met with some of these folks. I believe Mr. Tyler Woolsey previously. So everything that the mayor said that she met with, I would also copy it also. Thank you.
Good, sort of a ditto, isn't it, huh? Okay, ditto for Commissioner Bernard.
Good morning, Ken Tuma with Urban Design Studio here today on behalf of Pulte. Thank you for having us here and combining the two items together, number 8 and number 9. I will keep this very short today. You have a long agenda. What is in front of you today are really 2 items. One is the adoption of a land use change and a text amendment on second reading, and then in front of you is a rezoning of the property from AR2 PUD. So just a quick refresher on the site. It is located west of 441. It is called Madura Farms, just north of the Trotting Center and just south of Hypoluxo Road on the west side of 441. The requests that are in front of you specifically on the screen there is a comprehensive plan text amendment, a future land use amendment. Those are for second reading and adoption after transmittal, and then also a rezoning, a map amendment rezoning to a PUD. This has been in front of you many times. We've been down a long road on this project, and we appreciate everyone working with us along the way. Just a quick refresher, last year, a year ago in 2023, the Planning Commission recommended to approve or initiate a comprehensive plan amendment, which allowed for the expansion of the Trotting Center overlay. And then in February 1st, this board approved that initiation of that. And then we went to the Planning Commission in September of 2023 to approve a transmittal of that land use and text amendment. Ultimately, this board approved that land use and amendment for transmittal on November 1st of last year. And finally, in February of this year, early February, we were in front of the Zoning Commission for the actual rezoning of the property, and they unanimously approved this site for the recommendation of approval. Quick reminder, site located here, it's approximately 96 acres. The transmittal is to convert this to LR2, which would allow up to 192 units. However, there is a restriction in the land use that restricts it to 145 units. There are specific conditions in that land use. We meet those specific conditions, but I want to direct your attention to number 1 and number 2, again, restricting it to 145 units. Number 2 is the zoning development order shall contain 10% of workforce housing. That workforce housing will be provided off-site. Pulte has a subject site off-site where they will be building 15 units off-site. It's important to note that those units will be in the 2 lower categories. While there are 3 categories available for workforce housing, they are constructing those at the Boynton Beach Cottage District, and they will be in low and mod 1. Pulte has been a good corporate partner for workforce housing. They don't get much credit for it, but they have built a significant amount of homes in the workforce housing area across Palm Beach County. So the reason the new item in front of you today is a rezoning to rezone the subject property to PUD. There are specific criteria in the Delray in the Trotting Center overlay, and that overlay includes specific item maximum density of 2 dwelling units an acre, location restrictions, and transition of lot sizes, and the other items on the screen in front of you. But I want to spend a second and look at the proposed site plan. You'll notice that there is a transitional density from smaller lots on the right-hand side, closer to 441, going west all the way to 3 acres along Park Lane Boulevard. There are significant buffers. On the north side is a 100-foot buffer as we make that transition to the larger lots to the north. On the west side, there is a 50-foot buffer adjacent to Park Lane Road. Just want to spend a minute talking about the recreation pod on the site. First thing, this recreation pod, Pulte is going to be programming their amenity center and program it with child care and other uses. This center, by the way, the code requirement is 0.87 acres. We are over 100% larger than what's required by the code. What's going to be included in this building are going to be flexible workspaces to allow parents to share within the facility, as they are going to have child care and actively program it during the course of the day. There will be structured and free play activities for children in the club and in the campus. There'll also be collaboration with the neighbors or collaboration with schools to allow for potentially even pre-K4 style classes. So they've spent a lot of time thinking about how to make this amenity for the families that will live within this community, and they'll also be dedicated free play time. There are zoning standards. Your staff has agreed that we have met all those zoning standards. I'm not going to walk you through those zoning standards. We have your staff recommendation of approval, your zoning commission recommendation approval, and request your approval today. Thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Are there any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Baxter.
Hi, Ken, how are you?
Good morning.
When we had met, you had discussed something about the civic pods. Are you leaving those alone now?
We're leaving that alone, yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? I have a comment. I'd like to thank you, Mr. Tuma, and your client for coming forward with being very proactive in providing for a child care center in your recreation area. You are going to be attracting families, and this is something that has been occurring all over the county, and I really applaud your efforts in working with your engineers in making space for childcare and for work-study areas within that area, so that young families who are working from the house can be able to provide that while watching for the children there on site. So I appreciate that. I know we discussed it, and you've been very proactive in that, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Commissioner, did you have another question? Go right ahead.
I was just going to ditto what the mayor said. Thank you. I mean, such a huge help. Thank you for adding space to the rec center. Thank you for adding the childcare. And I also would like to be the one to, if we don't, do we have public comment?
We have no cards, and barring any other questions or comments of this applicant, I think you're ready to do your motion.
So I'd like to make the motion to approve item number 9.
Very good. We have
We need to approve item 8 first, and then do a motion on 8, and then do a motion.
Should they be separate, or can we do them 8 and 9?
I think we should do them separately.
So I would like
Whatever
to,
the attorneys say. Go right ahead, Commissioner Baxter.
I'd like to make the motion to approve item number 8. Thank you, Tara.
We have a second by the Vice Mayor. All those for, anybody opposed, see that it passes unanimously. Now we're moving on for a motion on item number 9. Commissioner Baxter, do you want to go ahead and reappoint your motion
Yes, please.
for number 9?
I would also like to make the motion to approve item number 9.
Okay? And a second by the Vice Mayor. All those for, anybody opposed, see that it passes unanimously for item number 9. Thank you, Mr. Tuma. Thank you, staff, for the work you've done on this. Now, we're moving right along to item number 10. And that is project number 20036, Green K, Phase 2, Progressive Design Build, WUD. Would anybody like to have a staff report on this? Seeing no appetite for that at this time? Is the applicant here for this? That is us. That is very good. I like being the applicant. We're going to have a first by Vice Mayor Marino and a second by Commissioner Weiss. All those for, anybody opposed, see that it passes unanimously. We have somebody at the podium. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Michael Jones from the County Attorney's Office. We do need to conduct a public hearing under item 10.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. So do we have any cards, Commissioner Weiss? We have no cards. Does anybody from the public wish to speak? Or does anybody here present wish to speak on this item?
Staff has a short, I believe, presentation for this item.
Very good. And probably we won't change our mind, but let's go ahead, if this is required, to hear from the staff on this item.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Jane House. I'm the Director of Engineering with Water Utilities Department.
Very good.
Thank you for approving the construction contract for the Green Cave Phase 2 project. As Mike mentioned earlier, we are required to do this public hearing because we're pursuing the permit exemption with ERM, specifically related to the excavation requirements under the Unified Land Development Code. So I'm going to pass it over to Suzanne Meckler and Greg Roy with CDM, and they are they are with CDM, and they are the design builder for the Green Cave Phase 2 project. Thank you.
Very good.
Hi, Suzanne Meckler with CDM Smith. Thank you for this opportunity and to present on this project as part of our public hearing. We do want to just quickly identify the intent of this hearing, and that is to get an exemption. This exemption is a standard process, but it is allowed via the fact that we are providing for public good and environmental restoration at this property. And so I'm not going to go into all these details. This is a lot of this project is similar to what you guys saw and presented in December for approvals. But I did want to just locate the property for everyone officially. And as you can see, the area to the right is farmland, and that is the area that we will be excavating for this lake. This will provide, again, like I said, public good and environmental restoration to that property, which is currently farm. I think this has been discussed before, but the water coming to that property will be coming from an indirect potable reuse facility that will be located at the Southern Region Water Reclamation Facility. This is the setup of the lake system that we will be excavating in construction. And just so everyone is aware, we have all the other associated permits required between South Florida Water Management District and Lake Worth Drainage District for this project. So this is just the kind of the completion of that effort. Greg, do you want to highlight anything? Say your name.
Hello, Commissioners. Excuse me. My name is Gregory Roy. I am a Vice President with CDM Smith. I am the design manager for this project. I'd like to talk a little bit about the park. The park falls under the jurisdiction of ERM. As you can see, it's a 63-acre parcel of land that we're going to convert into a lake area and a recreational use area for the community. The subject of ERM's concern or jurisdiction is the 26-acre lake that will be constructed. As you can see, we mentioned littoral zones. So ERM requires plantings around the perimeter of the lake itself. If we were to pursue a permit with ERM, there are certain requirements for square footage of littorals. We have actually doubled the requirement of the littoral requirement, so we're far exceeding what any permitting requirements would be there. In addition to that, there are other requirements too that we far exceed. There are also there's a landscaping buffer around the whole perimeter, which meets all county requirements. This is another plan of the park itself. Someone might ask, what happens with all this water? Just very quickly, there are 2 million gallons per day of water coming from the water purification facility to this site. The intent of the water is to replenish the aquifer. What happens is the water percolates through the soil, moves horizontally south to the L30 canal, and moves north to a drainage canal, and eventually all the water will work its way down to the aquifer to replenish that very valuable resource. So in general, this is an environmentally positive project. It's tremendous for the community and something that we're looking approval to permit. So there are a few things that I just want to touch on that fall within the jurisdiction of ERM that we are taking care of. One is water quality. So the water going to the lake far exceeds the potable drinking water standards. So it's highly purified water. Second of all, this lake is different than Green Cay wetlands. This lake can be used by the public, meaning you can canoe on the surface of the water. So there's a public use of the water. The other tremendous part of the project is that it's going to promote an ecosystem. There'll be wildlife that will thrive there, just like Green Cay wetlands. And then when it comes to construction activities, which ERM is also interested in, the important parts are, what are we going to do as far as excavation? Are materials going to be hauled off site? The answer is minimally. What we're trying to do is balance the excavation material versus what is used on site. So the intent is to not haul material off-site so we don't have any impact to the surrounding neighbors, and we have beneficial use of soils on site. The second part is when we excavate, we will be excavating in the wet, meaning we will have to water the site. What we don't want to do is discharge that water off-site. Our plans are to retain that water on site, to treat it, and keep everything within the footprint of the site. And lastly, we have a stormwater management plan to control any runoff of water off this site. And one last thing, ERM requires protection from existing drinking water sources. There are a couple in the area, and we're well past the 300-foot buffer from those drinking water sources. So we meet all the permitting requirements. We're just asking for an exemption from the permitting. So this is the plan or the view of the final product. I think you have all seen this. This is what we intend to construct for you all. That's a different slide on.
Yeah, let's stop going.
I'm sorry.
So again, thank you for your time today. We just wanted to make sure that the public hearing was confirmed, and we look forward to constructing the project. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you very much for that. Does anybody have any questions as part of this public hearing? Excellent. I just want to say I'm really impressed I know Todd Von Laren of our office has been working very hard with you, and he has really been an advocate for Green K. I'm especially impressed that public can use the water, of this new facility. Thank you for working on it. Thank you all the staff for proceeding with it. And if the attorney, can we go on the previously accepted motions on this to accept?
Yeah, the motion was just to conduct a public hearing, and since you accepted that motion, there's no further action required.
Very good. Good luck, and let's proceed. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to number 11, Reflection Bay Community Development District. This is the application by KL Reflection Bay LLC petitioner. So at this time, do we need a staff presentation? No? Very good. And the applicant is here. And would you like to give us a presentation? And do we need a presentation? Do we need a presentation by the applicant?
I
No.
think it's appropriate to let the applicant give a presentation.
You think it's appropriate?
Yes.
Well, I appreciate that you think it's
Yes.
appropriate.
I think it would be a good idea.
Well, we have done our disclosures. Would you like to give us a very brief
There's no disclosures for this.
applicant? Well, would you like to give us a brief review of your application, sir?
I'd be happy to.
Good.
Good morning. My name is Jared Earlywine. I'm with QTAC Rock. We've got Henry Hamber here and Michael Caputo from Coulter as well here on behalf of the petitioner. Again, thanks for the opportunity to present today. I think the project is really straightforward. This is the Reflection Bay community. It's over near the Century Village neighborhood. It's planned for approximately 600-something units. We've got about $10 million in infrastructure. It's already been zoned and approved for development. And so what we're doing is we're asking you all to establish a community development district to help govern the community, and especially with respect to the stormwater system that's out there.
Okay.
What makes the community development district key to this community is not only do we have the tax-exempt financing that will help us bring forward a more efficient project, but it's also just an excellent operation and maintenance entity. Cities can collect their assessments on the tax roll. They can get FEMA funding. They have sovereign immunity protection, which helps with their insurance. It's just a more robust alternative to a traditional HOA developer structure. For this particular application, we also have the support of the United Civic Organization, which is I'll let them speak here in just a minute, but I wanted to point that out. Our stormwater system will hook into theirs, and so to have a community development district there to be able to collect the assessments on the tax roll, get FEMA funding to take care of that system, I think it makes us a much more reliable partner for the Century Village community. I would also point out that we're not financing any off-site improvements. You know, no one's going to, we're not, our community is not paying for anyone else's improvements, and they're not paying for ours. So it's, I wanted to make that point as well. I know we'd gotten that question. So we're here and available to answer any questions, and certainly appreciate your consideration today.
Very good. Are there any questions by any members of the board? See none. I just want to comment that I'm impressed that the fees will only be assessed to those residents, the new residents coming in. There will be no fees assessed to the residents who already are there in that area. So seeing no questions, are there any comments? Yes, we do have Commissioner Woodward.
There's one comment card, Donald Foster.
For just 1 second while we set, okay, very good. State your name for the record and good morning.
Good morning. My name is Donald Foster. I live at Century Village, West Palm Beach.
Very good, sir.
Good morning, Madam Mayor and members of the County Commission. I am Donald Foster, manager of the United Civic Organization of Century Village in West Palm Beach, which is adjacent to Reflection Bay. UCO supports the Reflection Bay petition. UCO represents the owners of 7,854 Century Village homes and is responsible for improving and maintaining the Century Village drainage and stormwater systems. The Reflection Bay community will be connecting to these systems, and its developer, Coulter Homes, has made a major financial contribution to these improvements and maintenance. We understand that the Community Development District for Reflection Bay will not be collecting any money from Century Village unit owners. We also understand that the money raised through the CDD will be used for the stormwater drainage systems at Reflection Bay. We understand that the CDD created by this petition is designed to establish a professional and sustainable management and maintenance protocol over the systems and utilities which will be connected with Century Village, systems and equipment which lead out to our commonly shared outflow. It is important to Century Village that Reflection Bay infrastructure have the professional management and long-term ability by which to quickly respond to the maintenance requirements that we need from our neighbor. We understand that a CDD offers this kind of sustainability of neighbor systems, which UCO wants for the residents of Century Village. UCO supports the petition and urges the Commission to approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for speaking up on behalf of Century Village. That was my biggest concern, is that whether those residents would have to pay that initial fee. Coulter and Mr. Handler made that sufficiently clear at our interview.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Do there are any questions for the questionnaire? Okay. And I see a light by Commissioner Weiss.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to establish Reflection Bay Community Development District as petition is consistent with the 6 statutory factors set forth in Chapter 190 Florida statutes and previous board direction regarding the prohibition of off-site improvements and mandatory enhanced disclosure requirements is met for the future home buyers.
Very good, very well said. And we have a second by Commissioner Bernard. We have seconds by everybody on this, so I think we're just going to go ahead and see everybody approves. Does anybody disapprove of this at this time? See that it passes unanimously, 7-0. Thank you very much. Thank you, Coulter Holmes, for putting this forward. It's an excellent idea. All right, we are at this time going to take an administrative break for 3 minutes. Time enough to get up and stretch, take a quick bathroom break, and then we will begin when we come back with the ULDC revisions. Thank you.
Thanks.
said you can't clarify?
You can clarify.
What's your phone? Sorry, man. No worries. I know 355.
Yeah, so that's why you got it.
Okay, so
But
save
they,
that.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
now,
and they can change.
go back to my text and I'm gonna find you.
See, I don't know that this makes it.
All right, we are ready to resume the Board of County Commissioners meeting on zoning. I see all 7 commissioners here. Very good. Well, good morning. We are going to go on now to the ULDC revisions. We've taken a break on commercial vehicles and residential zoning. And let me just say this, I am your mayor. I'm the boss up here. And if there is any misbehavior from the ladies and gentlemen in front of me, you will be escorted out. Not just for you, but for the others who wish to speak today. It's not easy to get to this building and to pay for parking and take care of babysitters and work, but you are here today to be heard. And I will ensure that your voice will be heard. There will be no applause, no booing, no any other type of behavior that you would not allow in your own home. I have some helpers here today. They wear badges, and they are appropriately ready to escort anybody out. So with that in mind, I'm going to give everybody 3 minutes. You don't need to take all 3 minutes. If you don't, I appreciate it. But if you do, you may, because we will all be respectful of each other. I think we're ready to begin. The commissioner who usually handles the cards has a right arm that is, shall we say, in a sling. So I am going to appoint Commissioner Woodward to handle the cards, and the vice mayor to my right will handle the 3-minute clock. So with that, and anybody who has a child can always jump to the head of the group if you wish to. And that's for the child's benefit. Okay, we're ready to go. And thank you all for being here. This is what democracy is all about. At that, we're going to proceed with our great staff, our staff presentation at this time. Thank you.
Good morning, Lisa Mara with the Zoning Division. This is item 12, commercial vehicles and residential, and this is a slide recaps what we'll talk about this morning. This is the presentation overview. We're going to recap the timeline, talk about the proposed ordinance, and talk about commercial vehicle opportunities elsewhere in the county that was discussed, I think, at a Tuesday meeting this month. And then finally, there's the motion and for second reading and adoption, and of course, public comment. So as you know, we've been before you on August 24th, August 30th, November 29th, January 25th. January 25th was first reading. This is second reading. So changes that have occurred since last month. Last month, the Board of County Commissioners removed the acreage neighborhood plan exception for 2 semis in the yards in the acreage neighborhood planning area. In addition, there was a lot of discussion at the board about AR as being whether it's a residential zoning district or the confusion in the code. So we've clarified some of that language, and we've also, because of the discussion at that meeting and also discussions we've heard on social media, we are being 100%, 1000% clear that this amendment today does not affect recreational vehicles. The commercial vehicle term is not RVs unless you turn your RV into a food truck or something, and then it becomes a commercial vehicle. So we're adding that sentence here and underlined to be expressly clear. We also had a lot of confusion about F-450s, and they're kind of beefy pickup trucks, and people don't want to be bound by that as well. And if those vehicles are not used in commerce or trade, they are not affected by this amendment either. So we did clarify some of that in addition to removing the exemption that the board took out last month. So most of the changes that we're talking today, specifically to allow 2 commercial vehicles up to 16,000 pounds gross vehicle weight rating, is in the ARRSA zoning district. That is the area shown with the red outline, that's the rural tier, and shown in the blue outline, that's the ex-urban tier. Well, unless this is a little, this doesn't show municipal boundaries. This is only for unincorporated county. This ordinance doesn't affect cities. So right now, the comprehensive plan does not allow industrial land uses in those areas. If you may recall, last year or the year before, we added a new light industrial future land use designation for the Ag Reserve to recognize that there's a need, in the Ag Reserve at least, an opportunity for some industrial development. That is not allowed in the area that's subject to this amendment today. This slide, based on some of the discussions of where else can commercial vehicles be parked, we added this slide. All in orange are all the municipal areas that are kind of hard to see with the gray. Those are the municipal industrial land uses that allow commercial vehicle parking. That's around 6,000 acres. Of course, some of that is going to be built, some is vacant. And then in red, we've added the industrial land uses in the county and around 7,500 acres that allow commercial vehicle parking. And these are the 4 core industrial areas in the county. We have North County, which has Pratt Whitney and the Palm Beach Park of Commerce. West County had the planned inland port and a lot of lands around the sugarcane protection overlay. The dark gray, I'm sorry, the dark gray is the industrial land. The dark gray on this map is another hub of industrial land near Riviera Beach. That's really kind of a large enclave. As you can see with the light gray, it's pretty much all surrounded by cities. And then we have the Vista Center, where the county staff at this table, most of us work up here. I don't know if you could see I can't see my cursor. And then between Belvedere and Southern, which is really the central county, really heart and soul of our industrial in this part of the central area there. In that particular area, one of the things that came up from the board is, are there other opportunities for county-owned lands that might be on the table for at least a short-term commercial vehicle parking situation? This slide shows the Solid Waste Authority site that was planned for equestrian waste management. Equestrian waste is now off the table on that stuff. Not site, rather. And we do have the opportunity to work with Solid Waste Authority, at least for a temporary interim solution for this site. There are other county properties owned by the airports, and we can come back if the board would like a more lengthy presentation with ISME and facilities to talk about other opportunities. We did find in discussion with the airports that it seems that all of the airport associated properties have added complications of FAA approval. So this probably is our #1 site if we were to move with something on a county level. And I'd also like to point out is this site in yellow. We have had this application in process since last summer. This is proposed for commercial vehicle parking. This is the site plan. We met with the applicant this week, and Scott Cantor and I on the access, and for zoning approval, we will be looking at bringing this forward to you very quickly, hopefully within the next 2 months. This is semi-truck parking right there on Southern, and the access would be off of Hooper Road. So this is that slide again about industrial lands. However, I want to call your attention to these green lands. In 2018, the Board of County Commissioners adopted a limited contractor storage yard, home-based business type of approval on properties in the green in this map that are 5 acres and greater, the kind of like the Kelly green. So there are about 12,000 acres of land that are privately owned in those areas that theoretically can ask for an administrative approval for commercial vehicle storage on their properties. To my knowledge, we haven't had any applications for those sites. If those sites came in, they would have to meet access requirements, drainage requirements, and everything else needed for commercial parking. But those are other opportunities in addition to the red and the orange that can ask for that. And that limited commercial vehicle limited contractor storage yard was the inspiration for how we drafted the acreage exemption. So this is the language in the code, the summary of what that is. It's a DRO approval, which is an administrative approval. They could have 3 employees living outside the house. Hours of operations prohibited from 8 to 6. And none of this is being changed today. This is already on the books. Just wanted to call that to your attention. And that concludes our presentation. We are here for second reading and adoption, and that is the motion before you. And I'll available for any questions you have.
Very good. Thank you so much, Ms. Amar. Very well done. Are there any questions at this time?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot again. Indian Trails Improvement District wanted to say a word, if that's okay with you.
Yes, they will in
Mayor.
a minute. So before we get on to the other slideshow, I'd like to see if any commissioners have any questions for Ms. Amara or anybody else on staff at this time. Okay. Seeing none, we're going to have a short presentation by Indian Trails. If you could come forward, identify yourself, and we'll move forward with the approved presentation.
Good morning again. My name is Burgess Hansen. I serve as the Executive Director for the Indian Trail Improvement District. Thank you for allowing us to give a really brief presentation. So I will get right into it. I have with me Bernard Lebedecker and Jay Foy, who serves as our district engineer.
Very good.
And
you can proceed.
Yes, thank you. So just quickly, as you recall at the last meeting, we spoke if we are fine with up to 16,000 pounds as you're hearing today, but we just want to reiterate that we have concerns about anything above that because it puts a undue burden on our taxpayers with a minimum of $1.44 billion. We would literally have to rebuild all 436 miles of our road. Our engineer, Mr. Foy, did go through and calculate that. We would have to elevate our roads by anywhere from 6 to 12 inches. We would have to widen our roads as well as intersection. That also impacts our drainage, and by allowing vehicles actually on properties, it can also impact not only drainage on that property, but also their septic system and their drainage field. So again, just quickly, our road system is not built for daily use by semis, especially if we're allowed 2 per property, which would be potentially 30,000. Again, here are just some pictures of current problems we're having. We're unable to maintain certain roads or canals because tractor trailers are blocking them either on the swale or canal banks. Again, built new road, and you can see where the weight has put rutting or it has damaged the edge of roadway. Again, here are some more issues. Last week, we received a photo from a resident that was trying to go home at the end of the day in the late evening, and they had to wait on Royal Palm Beach Boulevard for approximately 10 minutes while semi was trying to back into their property. Again, just some more photos with multiple trucks and trailers, and again, it's not good to have heavy weight on any drainage fields, anything like that. And as you can see, the one photo, they had no swale, which certainly not only inhibits their ability to drain, but their neighbors as well. Just some more things, truck repair businesses in and out, issues there. Again, more parking on swales, unpermitted driveway, which also impacts drainage for that street and that particular area. So just quickly, we have negative impacts on the current roadway system, but the future impacts, if any vehicles over 16,000 were allowed, it would just create a lot of issues for us because our entire engineering system for the Indian Trail Improvement District is based on passenger vehicles and those vehicles that are being discussed today below 16,000. Public safety concerns, and then of course state statute limits how we can assess property owners. And that's basically it. Thank you. I just quickly, I think Mr. Lebedecker, and we'll be done.
Real quick, folks, there's never been a credible countervailing presentation that says, you know, when Mr. Hansen gets up here and he tells you it's going to cost over $1 billion, he's wrong. So that's the only evidence, if you will, that you have before you. What I wanted to talk about was the last thing that Mr. Hansen mentioned, which is the financing. As you know, we are a special taxing district. We don't get state money. We don't get gas tax money. The money is raised by non-ad valorem assessments on the people who live within the district. We have 13 units in our district. We can only impose those assessments if the benefit to the property owners outweighs the cost of the improvements. And this creates a financial nightmare for the district because we are in essence in a position, if this is passed as it relates to the semis and the dump trucks, of requiring people who don't own trucks to pay to subsidize the home businesses of those who do. And it's a lot of money. It's going to be a financial nightmare for my client. The nightmare for the county, because we don't have police power, is going to be code enforcement. You have tens of thousands of lots out in the acreage. How do you determine, for instance, people aren't parking semis that are loaded with chlorine gas canisters on their properties? What happens when there's a fire and a first responder goes out there and he thinks he's responding to a residential fire and he finds out 10 feet away from the house is a truck full of chlorine gas? It's a code enforcement nightmare and it is a financial nightmare, and we request that now on this second reading we put this issue to bed. We do encourage on behalf of our residents that the county seek solutions for contractor yards elsewhere in appropriately zoned districts. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, are there any questions by members of the board for the applicants on this issue? And I see Commissioner Baxter. Go right ahead.
So I don't know who would be to best ask, so I will start with Burgess. So thank you for coming down. I would like to know, how do you know or calculate the damage from the trucks?
So the current damage, the way we did it is we had our staff, our operations department staff, they're pretty aware of where damage is from, whether it be garbage vehicles or other types of vehicles. So we only included the vehicles that we knew were from that area and were parked in that residential street.
And how do we know that the damage being caused isn't from through trucks that are, we know that they constantly travel through the acreage?
Because most of the damage that we discussed is primarily on dead-end streets, so there really would not be any reason for them to go through on a dead-end street. And again, our staff, we were very conservative in how we brought this forward. So if we were not sure, we did not include it.
Are those dead-end streets mostly dirt or paved?
They're mainly dirt, and some of them are milled, which is recycled asphalt pavement.
What does the most damage to a dirt road?
That all depends, and I'll let our engineer speak to that, but it's general wear and tear. But when you have heavier vehicles on those roads that require larger radius and turns, that destroys the edge of road. It also impacts the swale, and it impacts other individual neighbors' driveway culverts. But Mr. Foy, you're the PE, I'll let you answer that.
The cost estimates that I prepared were based on the difference between a county road and a Indian Trail road. If you have a road that supports truck traffic, you need a wider road, a thicker section of road, and a higher road. So you have to rebuild the entire dead-end road. It's not a matter of what causes the damage to the existing dirt road. It's a matter of what do you need if you do have trucks. It's a complete road rebuild.
Do you know how much a garbage truck weighs?
Not off the top of my head, no ma'am.
Do you think it's more or less than a semi-truck?
According to the loading, it could be anywhere in between. I would think the semi would be more, quite frankly, according to the load.
Actually, you're wrong. But it is not. They actually weigh more. So what you're telling me is that our trucks are not designed to handle garbage trucks?
We repair the roads with the garbage truck traffic. I am saying if you have an increase in traffic, you have got to have a thicker road, a wider road, and a higher road.
So if these trucks have been out there for decades, why wasn't maybe that taken into consideration years ago?
The original water control plans were done in the 70s and 80s. There was no anticipation of the type of traffic you're talking about. So, of course, with maintaining a road, you have to maintain whatever traffic is on it. We are already in a position of financial hardship due to the maintenance of the roads based on non-ad valorem taxes.
And the figure of $1 billion in damage to, is this replacing dirt?
As previously stated, when you have this type of traffic, you have to completely rebuild the road. When you rebuild the road, it would become an asphalt road to county standard.
So you're testifying that if the trucks are there, it's going to cause $1 billion worth of infrastructure needs?
If you have to rebuild all the roads, yes, ma'am.
And even though they've been there for decades and we haven't needed to rebuild all the roads, now we would?
You're changing the traffic on the roads. The roads, we have a lot of needs of roads already. We're in the process of milling almost every single dead-end road, a dirt road. We are spending a tremendous amount of money on roads.
And I'm asking because you're the engineer, you're the expert at this. Would a thinner tire or a wider tire, would a flat, even surface do more damage to a dirt road?
More damage to a dirt road is, from my experience, is caused when the roads are wet. The roads, the tires pick up the shell rock. The road gets washed into the swale. That's not the question really isn't what causes damage to dirt roads, because everything causes damage to dirt roads. What if you increase the loading, the axle loading on a dirt road?
And somebody who, as myself, I live on a dirt road. Anything that is wide and compact helps my road that's going down it, because it doesn't actually cause the damage of grooves. What causes the most damage to our roads is anything that has a thinner tire, or trailers, let's say normal trailers, not semi-truck trailers, with a heavier weight. Now, we have people with campers, we have people with all kinds of things going up and down our roads that are heavy weights. That seems to me a more logical, that would cause more damage than a semi-truck who has very wide axles and a flat surface going up and down our roads. Now, you are the expert, but I will say, as somebody who's lived on a dirt road for a very long time, and I'm very familiar that what you say doesn't seem to add, but I do respect that you put all this together, and $1 billion in infrastructure needs seems, I have a hard time with believing those numbers. So I would like, if you wouldn't object to that, maybe sending how you calculated all that to the office.
Certainly.
That would be great.
And just to answer the question about the loading, it's the studies that have been done are based on axle loads, and the studies clearly show that the tractor trailers, the range of wear comparison starts somewhere around 200 trips of passenger vehicles versus a semi-tractor loaded to over 600. So each time you get a tractor trailer over a road, I use the number of 300 times the impact. So one tractor trailer, 300 times the impact if it's loaded.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Very good. Thank you very much.
May I just clarify one point, though?
Sure, go right ahead, Mr.
That Mr. Foy did not. So just quickly, with the campers and RVs, again, those are not taken out on a daily basis or even 5 or 3 or 4 times a week. So a camper or RV is not going to have the same type of damage as Mr. Foy just alluded to as what would a dump truck or a heavy vehicle.
Very good.
Thank you.
Commissioner Beck, do you have, is your
I
light
did. I
still
had
on?
one
Go right ahead.
last question, if
Sure.
with his. Do you believe that a semi-truck, tractor trailer, these long haulers are coming every day?
We cannot plan based on whether it's a long haul hauler or a single day truck driver. We have to base our plans on what would be the worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario is what Mr. Foy just explained. We have to plan for that. We can't just say, well, we know that the tractor trailer will be on 5 roads out of our 436 miles of roadway.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner Baxter. And if there's no other questions by the board at this time, what we're going to do is we're going to proceed to public comment on the cards. We have a number of cards. Appreciate you putting them in. We are going to, Commissioner Woodward is going to read probably 4 names, 2 on one side and 2 on the other. If you're not present to give your advocacy on this issue, then your card will be put at the back of the pile. So with that, and I'm giving you 3 minutes, which is maximum time that we allow in this board. With that, Commissioner Woodward, go ahead and proceed.
Thank you. We'll start with David Sauber, Melissa Moyraud, Dagmar Braz, and Luis Alfaro.
I need 2 on this side and 2 on that side. And when you get to the microphone, if you could give us your name, at that moment, Vice Mayor Marino will start the clock. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. My name is Melissa Moyrud. My address is 7713 Park Lane Road. I'm a resident of Heritage Farms. I am in opposition of any changes. One thing I did want to make a comment on is the county staff. A very impressive presentation. I think these folks could probably navigate this county blindfolded, finding solutions to this much needed problem. So yes, we appreciate our truckers. We know the job that they do. But I also live in Heritage Farms, and we spent over 8 years trying to get rid of the lawn service industrial fleets that were coming in and out. These were private roads. Some of them were paved. Some of them were dirt. I am not an engineer, but I can tell you since they have left, we are not dealing with the same amount of damage to our roads. So again, I'm not an engineer, but just by living there and seeing the damage that was caused, I think that I can probably agree with the Indian Trails. The other issue that I have is that because we're in agricultural residential, the county typically doesn't allow things like this nature to just be established in one area that's designated agricultural and residential. Being in Heritage Farms, I'm agricultural residential too. I do not want this in our community with private roads. I don't think many people do in other communities would want this either. Again, thank you for my time to speak. I'm in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Braz, okay, go right ahead.
Good morning. My name is Dagmar Bras, 6655 O'Hara Avenue. I have several friends that live out in the acreage, and we visit them, and I am very surprised at the diverse lifestyle out there. And I do feel bad for people that go out there and feel they get their, their elbow room and their little touch of nature and whatnot. But I find it very disheartening when people abuse the property and park semis in very large vehicles. I would not be happy if I spent $1 million plus on a home and then all of a sudden somebody was allowed to park semis next door. we do need to keep the separation between industrial and residential. I hope that you will move forward on the South Florida, on the SWA site. I think that might be the answer. I do understand. I do believe in home business, making your living. All these people in red shirts, God bless them. I hope they move forward. But I do feel they're taking advantage of the system by parking semis in a residential area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir, go right ahead.
My name is Luis Alfaro. I live in 16975 West Presswood. Rápido. Yo vine de Cuba hace unos 10 años.
I arrived from Cuba 10 years ago.
Allá yo era profesor de matemáticas en una universidad, la Universidad de Oriente de Santiago de Cuba.
Over there, I was a professor of mathematics in the University of Oriente in Santiago de Cuba.
Me enfrenté a los comunistas por las arbitrariedades, las mentiras de los comunistas.
I stood up to the communists for the lies and the ways of the communists.
Aquí yo tengo denuncias hechas a la propia fiscalía. Tengo hasta una foto de lo que yo hacía una vez dejada la universidad. Me enfrenté a esas arbitrariedades, a eso.
I have demands with me that I made against the administration in Cuba, against their arbitrary regimes and laws.
Vine para este país y resulta que aquí veo también personas que piensan, actúan y ponen sus intereses por delante de los intereses de la mayoría.
I came to this country and I see here as well people that put their own personal interests and special interests in front of the interests of the majority.
Y se anteponen sus intereses por delante de la mayoría, ¿no? Intereses personales.
That they've put some kind of personal interest or special interest in front of the interest of the majority.
Aquí, lo tengo que decir, lo siento, aquí hay una persona, una, no dos, no tres.
Here there is one person, not two, not three,
que nos quiere hacer daño. Nos quiere hacer,
that wants to harm us.
nos quiere hacer daño. Quiere, no ha logrado sus propósitos y llevamos, muchas veces ya hemos venido a tratar este tema y no ha logrado su propósito. Y sigue hurgando, sigue moviéndose por detrás.
There's one person that apparently has not been able to accomplish their purpose, which is to harm us, and we've been here several times, and we still have this issue brewing and moving around.
Somos parte de esa comunidad. En nombre de esa comunidad nos quiere hacer daño. Somos mayoría. En nombre de esa mayoría nos quiere hacer daño.
We are part of this community, and in the name of that community, they're trying to harm us. We are the majority in this community.
Nosotros somos mayoría, seguro. Seguro que somos mayoría. No podemos generalizar algunos hechos individuales. No podemos generalizarlo. Eso hay que resolver.
We are the majority. We cannot generalize just 2 or 3 particular things for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, Commissioner Woodward, would you read the next 4 names?
We have Alexandria Larson, Claire Dugal, Luz Laguerre, and Diane Sawyer.
Very good. If you could come forward. Good morning.
Go ahead, sweetie.
Okay, good morning. My name's Claire Dugal. I say good morning to the board and to everyone here present. I've been in the trucking business this year going to be 30 years. It is our only source of living. We have helped to build that community in Loxahatchee, the school, everything there, supermarket. So listening to the engineer saying that the truck destroyed the dirt road, and I live right off the main. I live on a dirt road, and ever since I lived there, I have trucks. I've not seen that. 5 children raising. So when these trucks that come to work to pick up the garbage, are they not going to go through these roads? When the food and the grocery to be delivered to the supermarkets there, what are we going to do? Are we going to be exiled in Loxahatchee? And my feeling is that it's only a certain group of people is allowed to work, because you put limit on pickup trucks that people use to clean pool. My truck is a flatbed. I haul a sod to help, it's in the agricultural, and other works that we have to do, especially when the recession hit. So I'm asking you to go again and to look at information, because there is the DOT, Department of Traffic. Just like you have the police for cars and accidents, they are the police, the authority for overweight. They determine and they regulate the weight and the size for trucks to be on the road. So this is not, personal opinion. It's our lives, and it matters. It's being disturbed. I have a 12-year-old, and he's asking me, Mom, are we going to move? He's born to see that life. That's the only life he knows. That's how we live. So I'm just asking again, take away the fine and the lien. I work hard to have my home for 24 years. I'm looking to have it completely paid off. Truckers don't have a 401k put aside. I'm 57. I'm soon going to be retired. With what? That's our only source of living. So I'm asking you, as a legal landowner and a tax-paying, law-abiding citizen, we got occupational license to operate this building. Was it something wrong we did when they asked on the paper what type of service? And we said trucking, haulage. So now we've been pushed out, forced out from the community that we build. I'm not the only person who's hurting. Our lives are being destroyed. Designating a place in solid waste, we're thinking about our health. We work there too. We know what that is.
Thank you so much.
Please reconsider. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, ma'am, you're on.
How are you?
Good.
I've been watching
Give
this.
us your
'cause
name.
Alexandria Larson.
Very
I've been
good.
coming here for 25 years, not 25 minutes. I got to tell you that. It's been so much fun. What a joy ride it's been coming to this awful hellhole. But it's really hard, no, because we always bait neighbor against neighbor. We're really good at that. Do you know there's 1,984 think tanks in America undermining your rights every day? And here we are again. Because I don't think anybody understands any of this. Because it says there's 2 trailers that can be sitting on your lot, just empty trailers, I assume. They say 26 feet, but the average trailer is 50 or 53 feet long. So there's a lot of confusion still in these documents for everybody. And I think everybody's been trying to navigate it. And what's really funny, anything that you change in the ULDC happens everywhere in the county. It does. You only have one code book. And people don't understand the code. They haven't for years. I've been watching it, the line outs and the matrix and everything to undermine people's rights and abilities. And yes, our roads are really under siege out in the acreage. There's a lot of dirt roads out there. There are 17,000 lots in the acreage. There really are. They'll say 15. I hear so many numbers. I kind of die at night. I stopped sleeping a couple of months ago because I had to come back here. And I'm just, please, really know what you're doing here, commissioners, because it happens everywhere. There'll be a little hole in on Belvedere Road where people live on 1 acre and everybody will want to park their trailer there too. There'll be a little hole over on Jog Road where the houses are on acres. They're going to want to put their trailers there too. So I think you need to go back to the drawing board for a little bit longer and think about the impact on everywhere in this county. It's not just the acreage. Right now, that's the focus because we're really good at diversion. I always say if you tell a lie 3 times, is it the truth? Because that's how it works in a lot of areas in government. Not you guys alone, everywhere. Senators, congressmen, all over. And just because we say it doesn't make it true. Because somebody told me about a particular street in the acreage, and then I went and looked at Papa, and what they told me wasn't true, but they were trying to aggravate me to speak about it. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. But, go and really look. Drive around where we live. Go drive on the roads. I did. I've driven the entire acreage many, many times, and I think you need to look at that because everything you do in this little ULDC will affect every inch of this county, not just one, every inch. And it can't be pick and choose because code enforcement is another dicey little ebb. If the code enforcement doesn't like you, they'll fine you.
Thank you so much
Please
for your
take that into
comment.
consideration.
Appreciate it.
And remember, you're all under oath, people.
Ma'am, you're on. Please identify yourself.
Diane Sauvé.
Good morning.
Hi. I stand before you today at this final reading to again and respectfully ask that you vote no to allowing any exceptions for vehicles over a maximum of 16,000 pounds in the acreage. I further ask that you say no to grandfathering any of the vehicles. You've received recent correspondence from some state politicians in support of small business and agriculture as it relates to this trucking issue. It should be noted that this is a continuation of misinformation seemingly cascading up the political chain. Bona fide vehicles directly involved in equestrian businesses or bona fide home agricultural businesses are exempt, but those vehicles are not the ones in dispute. The majority of dump trucks and other large vehicles are haulers of gravel, dirt, and non-agricultural or equestrian goods. I would also like to address statements from the trucking community that they were told they could keep these oversized vehicles on their property by either their realtors or other truckers. Having lived in Palm Beach County for nearly 45 years in Lake Clark Shores, Loxahatchee, and West Palm Beach, I can say that I've never taken the word of any individual of what can and cannot be done on my properties. Before buying, I studied zoning laws and any applicable ordinances to ensure that I would be in compliance and would have peaceful enjoyment of my property. Additionally, if I found ordinances that seemed in conflict, I made a cautious determination that the stricter portion prevailed. I have watched comments on social media from opposition stating that they moved to the Western community so that they could do what they want. Commissioners, there doesn't exist a place on earth or even in space where people can do what they want, where there are no rules. Laws are in place to protect people, property, and the environment. This further underlines the crux of why anything industrial is disallowed in residential or ag-residential neighborhoods. Industrial vehicles are known to damage roads and are a threat to the environment, including groundwater. I'm going to jump down here because I want to point out that a quick research showed that a fully loaded garbage truck weighs 25 tons with typically 2 trips per week, while a loaded dump truck weighs 35 tons with the potential of 10 or more trips weekly if traveling from their home. Multiply that exponentially by the fact that some homes now have 2, 3, 4, and more of these trucks, and that the numbers are growing. That leaves us with a mess. In closing, I thank you for your service to the community.
Ms. Suave, thank you for your service. You've been head of animal care and control for many years, and thank you for your comments. Ma'am, you're recognized.
Hi, my name is Luz Lager. I'm a truck driver since I was 24. Today, I'm here not to ask you to do anything but help us. I'm here to ask you for a great favor. Look around you and see the needs of the people, the working people who elected you. We are not asking you to let us do whatever we want. We are asking you to allow us to continue working from our houses and feed our families. We ask you to make the necessary changes, such as the number of trucks allowed, grandfathering, verify that the owners of the trucks are the owners of the ones who are parking in the properties, things like that, but do not force us to abandon our source of income. Please take in consideration that we are living in Loxahatchee because that was the last place we will move. We tried different places before, and it's really hard to find a place. I mean, I'm just asking you to take the time, not to hear what people are saying. Take the time to look where we can move, where we can park. All our family lives here, so we don't want to go away. I mean, for my family will be Georgia,
or North Carolina. We don't want to move. Our family lives here. My husband is separated. Their kids live with me. I take care of my husband's kids, and I don't want them to move far from their mother. So please just see that we are not big businesses. We are small businesses, and we want to keep doing what we want, what we like, and that's for me trucking. I mean, I've been doing it since I was 24. They have talked about the problems with the roads here, but for years, many businesses have been there, but not only until now, it seems to be a problem. Do not look for the problems, please. Look for solutions. Do not push us away. We are also part of the economy and the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. All right, Commissioner Woodward, would you read 4 more names?
Yes, we have Vivian Keller, Lou Colantuni, Victor Martin, and Natalia Melion.
Good. Good morning, ma'am. State your name.
Hi, I'm Vivian Keller. I live out in the acreage at 17677 63rd Road North. It's off Mandarin, just north of 60th, if you know the area. I've lived there since 1998 with my husband, raised my family there. We loved it when we came out. Didn't think it was going to be for long, but we fell in love with it. We loved the freedom of the area. And I was not aware of any codes. I often bragged about how we didn't have those horrible HOA rules to my friends where they're $25 a weed if they find it in your garden, this sort of thing. And then I find out from when my neighbor was cited, $1,000 a day to find income right away. They gave her a chance to clear things. She's a pack rat. She had her reasons. We cut her slack. People moved in next door to her. They weren't repelled. They just built a nice big hedge on both sides of them, and they have their little oasis. We have the same thing, a natural barrier of trees that were between us and them. I cut them some slack because we work with people. They had 8 dogs that kept my husband up at night because he was a very light sleeper. We'd turn on the bathroom fan. The other guy raised birds next to us. They were squawky, horrible. I'm talking to my brother. He says, "What's that noise?" What noise are you talking about? "Oh, the birds." I just blocked them out because he was using it to make money. I care about my neighbors. We have to do this. Is there a place in this country where you can live and be free? Why do we have to have codes? Why are you guys having to get involved? Why can't we solve our problems ourselves? Communicate. You know, any big war that we have, it always results in a treaty. We have to sit down and talk. Which brings me to this issue that nobody's talked about yet that's on the bill or the docket. It's the size of hedges. If it says in the code that you have to have an RV or a boat hidden in the back of your property where it can't be seen from the road, why is there a limit on the size of the hedge that I can have in my property? 4 feet? Oh, well, 6 feet? Why can't it be high? The Areca palm hedges, they say those are okay because you can't kill a tree if you trim it. But, you know, those are more expensive. But I guess that's what it takes. But why is there even a code on how high it can be? If you don't like the rig across from you or the headlights, your hedge will block it. The sound is maybe a different thing. I don't have it in my neighborhood, but we work with our neighbors. And I think that the people that are odds with it, you have to give it take a little bit in this world. That's how we're going to do it. I mean, why do we have to be regulated to death? Let's work it out ourselves. That's what freedom is. I don't have to become Amish in order to live the way I want to live, right? Let's do this. I am for the truckers. I'm not a trucker, but I'm almost brought to tears. Well, I was brought to tears when she got up here because I'm going, you know, to do this to people, I wouldn't sleep at night. I'm sorry. I just can't. And that's why I'm here.
Thank you very much for this comment. Thank you.
All right.
Sir, you're recognized.
Victor Martin. I'm a director of the NCNC, and I live along North Lake Boulevard. I represent the concerns of safety in the increased mix of vehicles and traffic volume along North Lake Boulevard. And this could be an inevitable increase of accidents. Right now, between 3:30 and 6:30 on North Lake westbound from the Water Department to Avenir, it's an Indianapolis 70-mile-an-hour race. So that's a safety concern there. Another point that I bring out, though, as an individual, I have 37 years of interacting with owner-operators on every state on the Mississippi and East and the communities. The points that I would like to bring up is of land value. As already been brought up, is that you have bought into a location, and now you have this kind of equipment sitting next to you. What does that do to the aesthetic view and also the value if you want to sell? Also, you don't know what's sitting next to you. Is it a load of steel? Is it a load of machinery? Is it a hazmat load? Is it a reefer trailer operating 24 hours a day? So you have those things to consider for property. The risk, now I say it this way, a risk of contamination. Owner-operators, because it is hard to make a living, I've lived with them for 37 years. It's hard to make a buck. They work on their own rigs. There's going to be spillage of oil and fluids. Now, I've seen inadvertent spillage, and I've seen a blatant spillage. 1 gallon contaminates 1 million gallons of groundwater that will go into pools and streams. You take a tractor trailer that's sitting on the side of the road, that over time, length of time, it will also damage and contaminate that. You take a pint of oil, dump it on a water, it will contaminate an acre worth of surface water. The cost, depending upon the amount of damage and the method used to clean it up, it'll be between $5,000 and $100,000 per acre. That rig sitting on the side of the road that sits there for long enough, if there is contamination, is a $2,000 per linear foot. Depending again about contamination and how well it's cleaned up, it'll take 20 to 30 years for complete distribution or disbursement of contaminants. So this is what is happening. I feel for them. I've with them for, it's been my career. I've seen what they've had to go through. And so I offer that also, do you have the enforcement of any rules that you have also? But the roads also have already been talked about, the amount of the roads that are not built for them, and also the fact then that your decision will affect the land value and usage of the acreage and other areas in the county. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for those comments. Sir, you're recognized.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thanks for having us here today. Lou Colantoni, 45-year resident of the acreage. I remember when it was all dirt. I've owned businesses here since 1980. I've gone through land zoning changes. And in 1992, I met a man who's a rather historic person here in Palm Beach County called Kerry Kilday. Mr. Kilday explained to me when I was trying to run a business that in order to use a piece of land, I had to have it operate in zoning and code regulation that was appropriate to do that business on. And as I was thinking about coming here to speak today, I had something prepared and it went out the window, but I'd like to say the following. He told me, don't ever buy a piece of land, whether it's residential or for commercial use, unless you know up front the most important thing. What is it zoned to allow you to do? And some of us have had to learn this lesson the hard way. People have bought residential properties in the acreage and have been lulled into a foolish misconception that they are allowed to operate large businesses and tractor-trailer operations from those residential agricultural zoned areas. Agriculture does have its special uses that are allowed, but residential simply does not and never has. And why do we have these regulations that are put in place very brilliantly by the county staff for decades and by county commissioners for decades? It is simply for the regulation and protection of all those landowners, whether it be commercial or residential. You have put protections in place that I bought into 45 years ago, and I expect that those protections will be there today. Nobody wants to buy a property, build a home, raise children, have a residential area to wake up one day to find out that they're an industrial truck stop. This is not what we're about. Now, on that matter, small home businesses, once you meet $500,000 in income, according to the state regulations, you are no longer a home business and need to move out and get legal in a zoned area. Now, switching subjects, because I think it needs a little clarification. I am an expert in trailers, building, axle replacement, and so forth. I've been operating a business here in Palm Beach County that is involved with the heavy hauling of yachts. We have very large axles and very large loads. Mr. Foy tried to explain what nobody seems to understand. 80,000 pounds on fixed axles, 4 tires on an axle in a twisting motion is ripping pavement and dirt roads apart. I thank you for my time, and I appreciate that you not support this effort. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before we get to you, I'd like to hear from Commissioner Baxter.
I wanted to ask staff a question. Did we have ULDC and parking codes 45 years ago?
The first zoning code was in 1957.
Was the acreage, were there things you could read that said that this wasn't allowed 45 years ago?
I couldn't tell you without having the code in front of me, so.
When did we get the first version, I guess, of the ULDC? Like, when they upgraded it?
Well, there's the 1957 code is the first zoning regulations. Then in 1973, they adopted a newer zoning regulations and land development. 92, I believe, is the unified land development code. And then in 2003 is the next version.
When that version was put in. And has staff said numerous times that our code is confusing and that's why we were looking at fixing it?
Yes.
And so if somebody were to read it and they read a part that they thought was allowed, that could have been possible. I'm not saying it definitely was allowed. I'm saying it could have been possible. That's how they interpreted it.
I think you'd have to ask the person that was confused.
Good point. Thank you, Lisa.
Well, that was a good answer. Okay, nothing further from Commissioner Baxter at this time. You can go ahead and proceed. Good morning, Natalia.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having us here today. My name is Natalia Melian. I'm here to ask once again for your consideration to allow residents to park their commercial vehicles home like they have been doing for decades now. We're not causing the strain and the damage that everybody seems to keep claiming. We have been out here for decades, many of us, some a little bit less, but we have been here. It's not new. We're not the ones causing damage. What we are seeing new since 2019, which was when this started, is Westlake and GL Homes and Arden and all these other communities that are coming in. This is what's really causing the damage and the strains on our roads. And I've actually taken the time to stop and ask for the DOT numbers. They're on the side of the truck. It's public. You can look it up. And I've seen that many of these trucks parked on the swales, they're actually big companies waiting to make deliveries in these new communities that are being built. And to my surprise, I reached out to a couple of them, and no, they're not Acreage residents parking on swales. They are Westlake and GL Homes bringing in material, Arden bringing in material. They're parking on our swales because the receivers are closed, and they're waiting for them to open so they can go and deliver that product. So one, we're not the ones damaging, they are, and we're being blamed for it, and I don't think that is accurate or fair to us. As we moved out here to raise our families, to build our home. We don't want to have to move elsewhere, and all we're asking for is your consideration. We are businessmen and women. We are willing to compromise. If something has to be built, a hedge has to be put in, anything that needs to be done, we will do. We've always said we're willing to compromise on any level, on every level, because we want our neighbors to be happy with us. All we're asking for is your consideration and take into the fact that we have been here. We're not new. So if there is any damages, we have to be checking on all these new developments that are being built. They're the ones bringing in the damage, and if our roads are not up to code, that's a big problem, because the garbage trucks are coming in and out of our neighborhood twice a week. And yes, they are fully loaded, and yes, they weigh the same thing as my truck. You can search that up. It's public information as well. And delivery trucks nowadays, at least in the Acreage I've seen, they keep coming in these big semi-trucks. They're not longer coming in little vans. I guess they have more deliveries now for coming to Westlake, the new community. So yes, they are the ones causing the damage. They're the ones in a hurry, not like us who are coming home empty, just trying to park. They're coming in and out in a rush because they want to get done with all the deliveries so they can go home. And I think that's one of the main points we have to make sure we considered, that we're not causing the damage. We've been there. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
Good to see you again, Natalia. Commissioner Baxter.
Real quick, Natalia, because I am not the truck driver, I wanted to ask you, are you regulated on what you're allowed to bring home in your loads?
I am.
What do they disallow you to bring home?
So
residents.
The first thing for me is that I keep hearing that hazards, you're gonna come in with chemicals. You have to have a special permit for that. We don't have that. So just pulling up my DOT, you'll be able to know if I'm able to pull in hazardous material, which I'm not. You have to have an extra license, an extra insurance. There's a whole nother process for that, and it's easily to look up.
And what do you think about the idea of fuel oil, anything leaking? Are you regulated to that as well?
That's a no. I will be put out of service if they found me with any type of leaks.
And
no matter if it's just regular fluid. It doesn't even have to be actual fuel.
And who does those inspections?
USDOT and FMCSA, and they do it at random pools, and they also do it at all the weigh stations across the county.
So to go up and down our highways, you have to pull into those weigh stations?
Correct. You have to pull all the time, and they will check if they want to do a further, more intense inspection, they will.
But then they are going to also then catch if there were any minor leaks or not?
If they find any type of leak, they put you out of service. And not even leaks. If you have a bad tire, they can put you out of service as well and will make you wait there until somebody comes and replaces that for you. They don't let you live.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Baxter. Commissioner Weiss.
Yeah, I have a question to staff. In your research, did you find that there were trucks operating without DOT regulations that were out in the acreage?
I would defer that to Rick Torrance from Code Enforcement.
That's not something we've looked into, no.
My understanding is you did research and that there were trucks that were not registered with DOT that should have been?
Oh, when we examined the Florida highway safety data, we did find about half of the code enforcement cases were registered on the property. We found some that were not registered on the property, and also, we did find that one or two that didn't have a registry in that research that we did. One, some were registered in Ohio and such.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Woodward, would you read the four new names?
We have Connie Black, Erwin Rungay, Jorge Alfaro, and Pamela Banks.
Okay. Good morning. You're recognized.
My name is Connie Black, and I live on Sunset Boulevard in the acreage. I'm a 34-year resident of the acreage and have taught for 27 years in 2 of the acreage elementary schools. Like most of the people that live there, my family moved to the acreage for the lifestyle that it offered. We realized at the time we moved that livestock of all types were permitted and could be our neighbors at any time. We also realized that small business owners and their equipment, both large and small, made the community unique. Some of our neighbors were, and still are, in the air conditioning business, the painting business, hauling business, tree trimming business. We knew the kind of neighborhood we were moving into and gladly and knowingly chose to do so. It is regretful that some residents may have been misled and did not understand this up front. Still, I feel most of those that moved to the Loxahatchee acreage area did so for the freedom and lifestyle not accessible in other parts of Palm Beach County. I see our freedoms slowly being taken away in our community. Our land is being annexed to create larger cities. More housing developments are encroaching upon us and displacing wildlife, and more restrictions are being replaced or being enforced. Excuse me. Like many acreage property owners, I do not own a large pickup truck, an RV, a semi-truck, nor a small business. What I do have and encourage is a passion for the American dream. Having a small business on your own property is the American dream for many of my neighbors. Having to spend hours per week traveling to a base yard to get their work trucks and equipment is costly and takes away from the family. Having your small business on your own land affords one the opportunity to spend more quality time with family and neighbors and extra time to contribute to their community. Today, I urge you to please keep this dream alive in our unique Loxahatchee acreage community by allowing small businesses to survive and contribute their services not only to our community, but to all Palm Beach County communities. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Sir, you're recognized.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Erwin Rugay. I am from the Loxahatchee acreage area, and I am here on behalf of my family and to share my story. I met my wife and her family 10 years ago, and since day one, they've treated me as family. My father-in-law and my mother-in-law have treated me like their son, and as years go by, I've been more and more connected to everything that they do. And there's one major thing that I have learned about my new family as time goes off, and that hard work and dedication pays off. My wife and her family are from Cuba, where freedom does not exist. Everything is controlled and monitored by the all-knowing government. Your neighbor is your worst enemy because they are being rewarded for being the government spy. Being in America gave them a new start. My father-in-law is a truck driver. That was not his first profession. He was a doctor. He was an anesthesiologist in Cuba, and a very brilliant one at that. I'm a CVICU nurse, and I still consult him with anything that involves medicine. But due to how the process of becoming a doctor here in the country is very different, he did not proceed and work here as a doctor. He did different things to provide for his family. Now he is a truck driver. I have never seen anyone work as hard as my father-in-law, and I am not exaggerating when I say that. He'll be driving for many hours from different states, but come home with energy and still continue to work and provide and maintain for our household. This man never gets tired, and I sometimes wish I had his stamina and his strength. And I greatly admire this man. He works very hard, and a lot of truck drivers that are present here work very hard so everyone else in this room gets what they need in life and be comfortable. He parks his truck inside our property, not outside. We make sure that it's not in the way of nuisance, that it's not a nuisance or a problem to traffic. We properly maintain and dispose of waste and materials associated with our truck. He parks his truck in our property to keep his truck without the risk of being vandalized or being broken into. In the end, we are not asking for a handoff or a giveaway or anything else in that matter. All that we're asking for is to continue to use what is already rightfully ours, our land. We are responsible landowners. We are respectful. We respect our land, not only for the sake of our environment and our family, but for our neighbors as well. And we value our land. We value our freedom, and we value your consideration. Thank you, and God bless America.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Sir, you're recognized.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jorge Alfaro, and I still don't see a valid argument that we cannot have our trucks parking in the properties when every day you see trucks coming to the gas station fully loaded with gas, like Publix, other supermarkets around the area. I believe if the big concern on the area is that tomorrow we can have one truck in every house, I will suggest to at least go with the grandfather law or something, find a solution for us. Because like we've been telling here, we've been there for decades. I'm not one of them, but I know people who have. So pretty much that's it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Ma'am, you're recognized.
Hello, good morning, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Pamela Banks, and I don't live in the area that is right now being affected. However, I do live in AR zoning. And the way I feel about this is the stories that we're hearing and the lives of these people is very, very touching. I'm also a realtor. And when you buy a piece of property in the acreage, you sign an as-is agreement that is a residential agreement. The key term here is residential, meaning a single-family home, a place where your family goes to live. So I've lived in agricultural residential for almost 40 years, and I've raised my children there. And our story is very different than the story you're going to hear today. Our story is we want a safe place to raise our children. I do not want to live in an industrial park. I don't want to see trucks coming and going. We've been here in front of the commission many times over the last 10 years working with to find resolution to the lawn maintenance companies that have moved into our 5-acre home sites to run their commercial businesses. We have seen the changes that it does to our neighborhood, to our families, to the roads. We've had many times them come out and fix our roads because there's potholes in the roads. I would have to say that I feel for everyone in this room because you're looking at two sides of the story. You're looking at the side that says, I'm a small business person. Well, so are we. My husband is a hardworking man. Underground utilities. If you've ever been a ditch, he's a ditch digger. We have a business, but we conform to the rules that are provided by the code enforcement, and that is the residential rules that we have in place. Agricultural does not mean commercial. And I thank you, and I hope you do not vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. All right, we're going to have Commissioner Wood read the next 4 names.
We have Sharon Waite, Karen Monk, Bob Morgan, and Jorge Garcia.
Good morning, ma'am. You're recognized.
Well, good morning. Gosh, I don't even know where to start, but I tell you what, I am still in support, as you can see. I love small business. I come from a dairy farm family, and some are big, some are small, like mine was, but everybody's different. Everybody has a different ability, and truckers are part of that. There's a way. I've heard some solutions mentioned. I would like to see those implemented. I think they're fair, and the grandfather is one, letters and stickers are another, and I think they're fair, and I think that would not take away anyone's livelihoods. I really do believe that that would be the real way to help. So let's try to do that. We've been at each other's throats long enough, and I think it's time to help these families. They are respectful. I have been here 28 years, and I've been here 47 years here in Florida, West Palm Beach, Wellington, and now the acreage. And I can tell you I have never seen a problem. I have a lot of neighbors that have trucks, and every sort of business you can name, every trade you can name. And I don't see problems. I don't know why people can't realize, let's leave us alone. If you don't want to see trucks, move someplace where there are none, and then wonder where you're going to get your services from. Your plumbers, your any trade. Find out where you're going to get them from, because we have them all. Anyway, I'm not angry, just very determined to see a solution, and let's not bicker anymore. Let's just do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ma'am, you're recognized. Go right ahead.
Karen?
Yes.
Meg? I've been a acreage landowner and resident there for 3 decades and almost 5 decades in South Florida. And once again, I'm saying this to you. We are united, all of us, in preserving the acreage lifestyle. But we have different ideas about what our concerns with. You have those that are opposed, and they're concerned about outside businesses. That's really what the bottom line is. We have businesses coming in, renting property, and that's a real issue. Those aren't the people that are long-term residents. If you notice, those of us, I don't own a truck, I don't have a business, I've raised my family out there because like that other lady said, we knew where we wanted to be. I've gone up to the acreage since before I was married. My husband and I, before when we were engaged, went up and said, this is a special community. And that's the thing you have to remember. And what we wanted was the particular lifestyle. What I'm hoping, and this, I have to say, this commission, you've been very attentive to something that the acreage, this is really about us. And you've been very attentive, very respectful. And that hasn't always been this commission. So I applaud you for that, and I really appreciate it. And I think you guys can come up with a solution to this, like that other lady said, something that's a hybrid. If you could limit or exempt by variance, the legalities involved are up to you and your staff. By the way, your staff has always been fantastic, and they're excellent, always helpful. To find where only homesteaded residents, whatever variations, so that they may have, and yeah, there's always restriction, but the average, listen, the acreage is just like any other acreage throughout the United States. This is where rig drivers come home, and they may have an extra rig on the property and maybe a trailer, but that's about it. But it's always been places like this. There's no other place to go. You have people coming from other places. Those are the people now pressuring all the real estate agents. And while they're talking about pollution and runoff, these are the people that want to spray pesticide. They don't even know that they own a well. So look at the pattern of this complaint and the pressure that's coming up now and not the years before. And I want to make sure I didn't forget anything. I think you guys can come up with a solution. Oh, by the way, I'm out of time, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. You're recognized, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you for your time today. I'm Bob Morgan with the Acreage Landowners Association. I'd just like to discuss a few things that is on the agenda today up for discussion and approval in the second reading. First of all, the ALA agrees with the proposed fence height changes that are being proposed from 4 to 6 feet in the frontage and I believe to 10 feet in the rear and sides. This would greatly help with the agricultural equestrian community in order to keep their animals into their properties. Dog can jump a 4-foot fence, and we've had this problem for many, many years. So we hope that you will pass this. We also support the commercial vehicle increase to 16,000 pounds. This would help out a lot of the residential or the home-based businesses, the plumbers, electrical, all the different businesses that have these vehicles, and actually set it to a fixed class rate. Prior, it was actually splitting a class in half, and it's kind of hard to determine what a vehicle actually weighs if you got it in the middle of a classification. It's been quite a learning experience for the last 5-6 years for this. For myself, the board, our board, and the residents of our community. I'd like to ask that if the county commissioners can consider either adding or changing, updating to advertising mass changes like this, where it affects a massive amount of residents. Developers and residents, if they want to do a ULDC or zone change, they have to put out signs within 1,000 feet, letters within 1,000 feet. Something to this magnitude, I feel the county, with all the money that's been spent, I'm sure, could have afforded to send a letter with the facts of what was actually being proposed to the residents of their area being impacted. This would have actually impacted more than just the acreage in concerns with the trucks. It would have impacted more, or more people could have been concerned about it, let's just say that. So I feel that maybe if there's a possibility of maybe becoming the first county in the country that actually uses anything but public notices on newspapers that nobody reads, or goes to an electronic newspaper to look for public notices. 99% of the people do not do that. Letters to their homes, I think, would be a great idea and be the first to change that in the country, because they all use public notices. Nobody reads them. And I thank you for your time and appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Jorge Garcia, 20-year resident at 4360 Royal Palm Beach Boulevard, Royal Palm Beach. It's the acreage. I wanted to say thank you to commissioners and staff for having us, and I wanted to mention that I'm a resident of the Loxahatchee acreage area, and this is not just about truckers. This is more about property rights. There are people with special interests. There are a lot of transplants from other states, and some people that represent so-called HOAs or developers. They do not represent me or most of the people here in the acreage. There's people here from Heritage Farms, Jupiter Farms, Palm Beach Gardens, North Palm Beach. I hear people from as far away as Rhode Island are emailing about not having truckers in the acreage. There's only, I think, 6, 7 commissioners here, but only one that actually represents the acreage in Loxahatchee and our rights and our interests. The last meeting, we had several either retired or possibly active welfare recipients, government employees, etc., complaining about the impact of a few people owning trucks in our areas and other types of construction work vehicles. I believe that we all know that 95% or better of the loaded dump trucks, tractor trailers, using our neighborhoods as a pass-through are actually going to Westlake, Arden, Annandale, some of the communities being built on North Lake Boulevard. These people are carrying 25,000 pounds of aggregate on top of their 25,000 pound dump truck. And these are fully loaded all day, making dozens of trips a day. We have City Furniture, El Dorado, Rooms to Go, everybody moving people into the new homes in Westlake, Arden, and off of North Lake Boulevard. These trucks are loaded to capacity. I think we have a misconception when we put down the 80,000 pound weight limit we were looking for. That is a totally loaded tractor trailer at full capacity. An empty tractor trailer or dump truck weighs 26,000 pounds. Our residents and neighbors leave empty in the morning, come home empty in the evenings. The ones that are fully loaded are the garbage trucks, the fire trucks, the moving trucks, and the people working for the developers. So I want to conclude with saying that I am an acreage owner. I run a small business from my home, and I'd like to be able to continue to do this. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Commissioner Woodward, would you read the next 4 names, please?
We have Claire Salmon, Lisa Johnson, W. Harp, and Susan Kennedy.
Would you come forward and identify yourself? Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Johnson. I'm a 21-year resident. I bought in a residential zoning area, and I don't want it mixed with industrial. Many changes have been lumped together in this ULDC revisions. I originally thought when you could have a home business that it would not be seen or heard. I understand a lot of people have home businesses, but I'm worried about being too much outside of your actual physical home. Thank you for removing my greatest fear, which is the 2 semi-dump trucks up to 80,000 pounds, and your current efforts to get the truckers parking in appropriate non-residential area in close to their neighborhoods. Last meeting we had, specialists did speak, and they got me thinking of all the different impacts, which I have great concern in. And I had read, Mayor Sachs, that you were against the 12.5 to 16,000 pound per household. I hope the impact studies would be completed as discussed, each change be brought to the Board of County Commissioners separately, as well as a plan for compliance enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments. Good morning, ma'am. You're recognized.
Hello. Thank you all for your time. My name is Claire Salmon. I was born and raised in the acreage. My family has been in the acreage for over 50 years. That's 3 generations. I understand that times change, but our principles and care for the environment cannot. Respect for our neighbors and neighborliness has always been paramount to the culture of the acreage, and asking 45,000 people to collectively lessen their quality of life for 300 individuals can't be an option. I empathize with truckers and their families who are often the backbone to our way of life, but just because someone lied to them about the expectations and regulations out there does not mean our families should subsidize and weather that false promise. Whether this goes through or not, the fact of the matter is that our roads aren't built for regular traffic from so many semi-trucks. Whether semi-trucks are allowed to drive them will not make the roads able to be driven on when they're failing and broken. I have plenty of stories about how semi-trucks affect the infrastructure, but I'll focus on one most personal to me. A semi-truck moved onto my parents' street when I was very young, and the road immediately deteriorated. After hurricanes, it became nearly impossible to get out due to all the collapse of the road and drainage. This became a question of whether we'd be able to escape in an emergency. The road had to be fixed by Indian Trail constantly, since our road was made of asphalt crumble, or whatever that's called. When they retired and moved away, our road went back to normal and only needed general maintenance. There are many other examples I could say, but this one seemed the most clear and personal to me. This is an issue that needs solving. Truckers need somewhere to go, so I'm really glad to see that, we're looking at other options. But we should not be pitting neighbor against neighbor, forcing some to weather broken roads in an area that already struggles to support the population out there, for wells to be poisoned, for fumes to drive people to different rooms of their homes, for drainage fields to collapse, for people to not be able to enjoy their yards and agriculture. Today's ruling will not solve our problem, and it is our problem as a community, both sides. But please do not ask a majority of the people and the environment to suffer for a false promise. We should all be rallying for a solution, for infrastructure, for better codes, for change, but it should not be a blind and unsupportable decision that many generations to come will pay for. I hope by the time my grandkids are born, that my family will still live in the acreage and it'll be 5 generations, and that we were not pushed out by those who cannot support and were not supported by the change they asked for. Thank you all for your service and your time. I speak for my entire family and 3 generations when I oppose this change, and I hope you do too.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good morning, you're recognized.
Good morning. My name is Susan Kennedy, and since everyone's saying how long they've lived where they've lived, I've lived in AR zoning since the Pleistocene era. I'm an elected supervisor from the South Indian River Water Control District. We presented our letter of support and concern at the last hearing regarding this amendment, and it's part of the record here. Today I'm here to thank you for your decision that you made in January, and to support your decision to support the county's rural lifestyle while having the courage to stand up to a small special interest group. This special interest group would negatively affect our agriculture residential homes, and we thank you for not burdening our existing infrastructure in the many special districts and water control districts in the county. South Indian River Water Control District continues to support the amendment as it's written and supported by the staff report here today. We believe that it aligns. We thank you for bringing something that aligns our home-based businesses with the state law, and fixes the fencing issue in the rural area, which has been an issue with horses and livestock for many years. And most of all, thank you for the staff for their hard work at this, and thank you all for your service as an elected official. You guys bear the burden of a lot of different voices making their opinions known to you, and I appreciate your ability to balance everything and come out for the good of the most of our people in Palm Beach County.
Thank you so much for those comments. Good morning, sir. You're recognized.
Good morning. I wanted to say I think that it's unreasonable to change the code from allowing 7 semi-trucks on 1 residential property in the acreage/Loxahatchee area to 0 trucks. It would be a great compromise to allow 2 trucks parked on a residential property with a hedge or a fence or even a wall, buffer, and even concrete at the bottom to avoid any leakage into the environment. If the commissioners in Indian Trail are concerned about the amount of new truck companies flooding our areas, maybe we should adopt a grandfathering in program or ask the current property owners who park trucks to get a license by the county. We're not trying to hurt our community in any type of way. We're here trying to provide for our families and to get along with our neighbors. Also, we see a lot of residents from other communities commenting on this issue that has absolutely no impact on them. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments, sir. All right.
Ready?
Okay, very good. All right, 4 new names, please, Commissioner.
We have Pia Scoran, Dennis Perez, Gail Ladd, and Carlos Rosales.
Good morning, ma'am. You're recognized.
Thank you. My name is Pia Scorin. I live in the acreage. Hi, Commissioners. Thank you very much for your service to our community. We've lived here for 34 years. We did our research before we came. Tractor trailers were never allowed to park on 1.25 acres since we've been here. We are here to support your commitment to provide parking facilities for big commercial trucks. We are confident that you understand that the risks and costs for the acreage and for the county are far too great to allow tractor trailer parking. We are glad you recognize there is something amiss when the acreage is the only agricultural residential area to be singled out. This should not be a political football. County Commissioners, you are entrusted to make the safest, most economical decision. Parking facilities are clearly the right path for big commercial truck parking. We ask that you stand firm. We have insufficient staff to monitor compliance for grandfathering. It would be almost impossible to separate trucks that are here illegally. When folks come to look at real estate and they see trucks parked, they think they can do it too. Grandfathering is not an effective option. The lawsuit we won to keep the adjacent community from turning our roads into thoroughfares is likely to be appealed. Allowing truck residents to park will not help our case. We care about our neighbors too, all of our neighbors. Parking is a tax-deductible business expense and will not hurt anyone's livelihood. The cost for individual truckers to comply with EPA standards will be far greater than parking in a facility designed for trucks. Commissioners, we appreciate that you are committed to finding parking facilities. Please let us know how we can help you. We recognize these codes are difficult and the devil is in the details. We ask that you vote no to today's proposal and allow for community feedback regarding the 16,000 gross weight vehicles, the front fence height, and home business changes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments. Sir? Okay, I'm sorry, just 1 second. Vice Mayor Marino has a question.
Thank you, sorry. What's on the table today is to allow 2 commercial vehicles up to 16,000 pounds, nothing greater than that. So on the table today is we're not voting in tractor trailers of any kind. We are just voting in, if we choose to do so, 2 vehicles for commercial use up to 16,000 pounds. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so Pia just wanted to clarify, we're voting in 2 commercial.
And that's what I said, we would like you to vote that down, because we think this has kind of been a rush job with everything lumped in together.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Your comments were noted on the record. All right, sir. Oh, Commissioner Bernard. Hold on just 1 second, just 1 second. Commissioner Bernard, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. In regards to the question that Commissioner Marino Vice Mayor Marino just asked, since we're in second reading, I've heard the question regarding grandfathering. I guess this is to the attorney. What is the rule in regards to what was advertised versus whatever that we vote on today?
Sure. If you make substantial changes, like if you were to propose some kind of compromise that isn't currently in the language, that is a substantial change, you could potentially, you have options, all of which would require at least 1 additional hearing to bring back that language again in an advertised manner.
Thank you very much.
There's no other questions. Sir, you are recognized. Wait a minute.
Mi nombre es Carlos Alberto Rosales Ramírez.
My name is Carlos Alberto Rosario Ramirez.
Mi dirección es 15782 94 Street North, Loxahatchee.
I live at 15792 94th Street North, Loxahatchee.
Bueno, vengo a defender aquí, como he venido todas las veces que han dado esto, a defender nuestras propiedades, a defender los camiones, a defender lo que considero que es una discriminación.
I'm here to defend property rights, as I've been here in the past, to defend the truckers, and to come to fight against what I deem to be discrimination.
Veo, como han explicado en planos aquí, que se gastan millones de dólares que toman de nuestros impuestos, de lo que nosotros trabajamos. Y en la 94 Street, donde vivo yo, mi vecino y yo nos ponemos a conversar que tenemos que pagar eso por 20 años y solamente con la lluvia ya se ha descarnado.
On 94th Street, where I live, I know we pay a lot of money to have the dirt roads maintained through our taxes, and that my neighbors and I converse on how just a simple rainfall ruins the roads each time it rains.
Y si se pudiera, ustedes pudieran investigar, que fueran por las calles, porque mi calle es un derén, no pasa nada, ningún vehículo, y ya no sirve el Miller que echaron.
He would like someone to come out and investigate my road. My road is a dead end. We don't have any vehicles coming through there, and the millings that they recently put in are already gone.
Veo que solamente lo que piden es millones. Lo único que está bueno para ellos es nuestro dinero de impuestos.
The people that we pay our money to maintain the roads, they ask for millions or billions, and they're only interested in our money, but they're not really serving us.
Exijo que se haga una investigación, porque exijo eso porque es parte de mi dinero. ¿Cómo quién está administrando que sueltan tantos millones de dólares para que nos traten el respeto y nos sentíamos estafados como estamos siendo?
I would like a greater power to demand an investigation on those who we pay our $1,700 a year to maintain our roads, where that money is going to, and what are they doing with the millions of money that they're charging us, millions of dollars.
Veo que ponen camiones, pero no son específicos en poner el número de la placa de un camión, decir, este es el nombre de esta persona vive ahí en Loxahatchee, porque son cientos de camiones que pasan de distintas compañías y de distintos lugares.
They talk about the truckers doing damage to the roads, but there's no proof that it is the residential truckers that are just coming home from work at the end of the day. There's no way of telling them apart from the ones just coming through.
Thank you so much for those comments, sir. I appreciate it. Good morning, ma'am. You're recognized.
Hi, good morning. It is still morning, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Gail Ladd, and I live in Jupiter. I'm one of those people who don't live in the acreage, but I care about it. And of course, this is a controversial issue, as everyone here knows, but I believe the clarifications and revisions that have, they've improved my opinion in this. I said I was opposed to this, but now I've been listening to both sides. I really feel like these clarifications and revisions have changed my opinion. I see both sides with very positive comments on both sides. I am for small businesses, and I assume that it says that it has been revised, the home occupation language, to rename home-based businesses, that home-based businesses can allow 2 vehicles up to 16,000 pounds. Is that correct? So I think that that is a compromise. I think it is something that both the residents and the truckers will benefit. I'm a little concerned at what kind of businesses some of these truckers are saying they have. If they're agricultural, if they're small business, I think that should be a good thing. It's like a compromise for both sides. I applaud the county staff for clarifying the commercial vehicle language, for trying to find possibilities for parking for larger commercial vehicles, larger than 16,000 pounds. Semi-trucks have never been allowed, as far as I understand in this area, and that's why code enforcement had to get involved more and forcefully. And I am in favor of the revisions now, but it sounds like Indian Trails needs help with their regulations, and the residents need help with funding of road improvements and infrastructure. So please consider this, and I ask you to say yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Sir, you're recognized.
My name is Dennis Perez. Y, quisiera pedir que tomaran en consideración a las personas que quisimos vivir ahí antes, que no tenían estas restricciones que tenemos ahora.
So a minute, we're going to get a translation. Go right ahead.
I'd like for you to consider the people that have lived out here for a long time that didn't have these restrictions when they moved in.
Y que alguien o algunas personas cambiaron sin tener la consideración de nuestra opinión.
Which were changed without our knowledge, and that's the reason behind us being enforced now.
Y que independientemente de la conclusión que den del sign, de lo que se debe tener en mi propiedad.
And what is said that I can have in my property.
Consideren que es un derecho un derecho dentro de mi propiedad mío
to consider that it's a right and it's my property rights.
De hacer en mi propiedad lo que yo decida hacer respetando los códigos de la ciudad.
For me to be able to have these things in my property, it's my private property and it should be allowed as long as it goes through obviously code.
Y que ¿cómo se llama? Si a alguien le afecta mis derechos de hacer en mi propiedad lo que yo determine hacer,
If it affects someone,
simplemente es cuestión de la vista, de vida, que simplemente no mire mi patio. Yo tengo el derecho de hacer en mi patio lo que yo desee hacer.
if it affects someone the way that it looks, they should just look away because I don't bother my neighbors and I will follow any laws and requirements, and if I have to put something up, I will.
Eso es todo lo que quería decir.
That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. All right, if Commissioner Woodward would read the next 4 names.
Yes, we have Linda Smith, Renee Hamilton, Richardo Kerr, and Diego Bowie.
Very good. Ms. Smith, you're recognized. Good morning.
Good morning. Linda Smith, Jupiter, Florida. I want to be clear. I think I'm for this. It might have been muscle memory. I come here all the time and I'm always opposing. And it's not what I meant this time. I'm opposed to the tractor trailers. So I apologize for that. I live in unincorporated Palm Beach County, zoned AR, for over 30 years. I moved from West Palm Beach to the numbered streets in Jupiter. Some of you might know that those used to be dirt roads, so I'm familiar with living on a dirt road, potholes, drainage issues, all that stuff. I feel the majority of the residents in this area are concerned about the tractor trailers in their Indian Trails district, and I feel for that. But that's not really why I'm here today. I'm here looking for a line in the sand. As you folks know, I often attend these meetings, and primarily on the Ag Reserve, which is just a little part of Palm Beach County, just a little south of the map that the staff shared. And it has been killed through the 1,000 cuts. That line in the sand keeps moving. It used to be State Road 7. So how is anyone that lives anywhere in an AR zone to believe that this will only stay in Loxahatchee? If you look around the county, I think you might find that the issue of storing tractor trailers is increasing. Maybe it wasn't a big problem when it was 1 or 2, but it's not anymore. The choice about whether it's a garbage truck or a semi-truck, government is here to protect our health and safety. Stopping a garbage truck is kind of a red herring. For health and safety, all residents paying taxes need to have their garbage safely removed. I'm glad you have options coming online. I can only tell you maybe move it faster and all that sort of thing. But I remember not too long ago there was a great discussion about Moroso, which I think is fairly close to this area. And instead of a truck storage facility, truck storage and maintenance facility, it became one of thousands of industrial warehouses that actually are designed to receive tractor trailers. So it wasn't that big a stretch, but we missed that opportunity, perhaps. Can't go backwards. Codes are designed to protect the public, the majority. That is the American dream. Rule of law determined by a majority vote for the entire county. The commissioners represent all county residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Good to see you again. Sir, you're recognized.
Morning. My name is Richardo Kerr. I live in Acreage at 40 Run North. I normally don't do this, but the public speaking thing. But this affects me and my family. I've been living in the Acreage for approximately 20 years. I've been a landowner out there for 16. I've been a tractor trailer driver, for OTR tractor trailer driver for over 20 years with over 2 million miles. I've seen the changes happen in Loxahatchee, and it doesn't seem to benefit us, the people of Loxahatchee. They say we're destroying the roads. They say we're spilling oil. They say we're doing all this other stuff. When the roads, Sycamore, for example, it's 20 years. Indian Trail has never fixed Sycamore in 20 years. It's the same road. So I don't know what improvements they're doing. I live on a dirt road. I can count how many times in the last 10 years Indian Trail has sent a backhoe or one of those tractors to grade it in the last 10 years. So the numbers that I saw them putting up there, I don't understand it. We as small business owners, especially truck drivers, a lot of us can't afford to go rent a lot. People see a tractor trailer driver, they think we make all this money. We don't. We don't make a lot of money. And a lot of us don't have 401ks. Some of us don't even have health insurance. I came out here, I weighed 185 pounds. I'm 300 pounds now because we're constantly working. I'm gone 5 days a week, sometimes 6, to feed my family. I have two girls and a grandkid. And without me having my lot to park my truck on, I can't support or feed my family. I went through the proper channels to get permits, to get my driveway put in. And the other thing that the engineers said that we will destroy the drain fields, that's not true, because we also had to get permits to make sure those driveways did not run over the drain fields or the septic system, because your car can't drive over it. Okay? Another thing, I give back to my community. I keep a barbecue every single year. Last year was over 100 and something people there that I give back to Loxahatchee. That's the Loxahatchee I know. We love our people, we love our residents, they love us. We give back. During COVID, we were out there putting our lives on the line. When a lot of people were scared to go outside, we signed the waivers to put our lives on the line, to sacrifice, to bring stuff in. But now they're saying we're not good enough to live next door to us.
Thank you so much for this comment, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Ma'am, you're recognized.
Hi, I'm Renee Hamilton. I live at 17934 Temple Boulevard. I would like to comment about the gentleman who just actually spoke, and he said he's logged 2 million miles, where we keep hearing how people come and go and these truck drivers come and go daily. It's very clear with 2 million miles that this gentleman's logged. He's not in the acreage daily going back and forth. He's out on the road delivering product all over the country. So thank you. I also would like to point out that there are several people supporting. We've heard dozens of people supporting this from the acreage. We've heard from 11 people against it from other areas and 3 from the acreage. It's very clear that the acreage could not get enough people that were against this to fight against it from the acreage, so they had to go out to other areas to try to get other people to say they don't want our lifestyle that we have. Additionally, I'd like to point out that there are currently, according to the code, it appears possibly 12 cities in Palm Beach County that actually do allow tractor trailers in a residential area, not even an AR necessary area, depending on lot size and other things that would allow it. Might need to be in a garage, might have specific requirements, but I was able to confirm seven of those with the code departments from those cities. So we need to stop saying they don't belong in residential areas, because they're already in Palm Beach County in residential areas. We are agricultural residential out in the acreage. We are not residential agricultural. So it was agricultural first, and they allowed houses to be added. What we're trying to say now is that we're residential, and maybe you can have a little agriculture. That's not what we are. We're agricultural residential. Also in Jacksonville, they actually allow RR acre properties to have tractor trailers on their property, and they will give you a letter stating such that it is allowed for $89. They have 1.1 million people, and they were able to figure it out. So we're talking about doing this just for the unincorporated areas, which is probably less than 100,000 people. I would think the county can figure it out. The code prior to 2019 from Article 6, Section 19, Part 2 clearly stated in it that the parking and the storage codes shall, for this area only, it shall be not, stated that it shall not include the AR zoning as a residential zone, that we were exempt from the codes for the residential areas. And it's very clear, it's written there. All they did in 2019 was take the word not out, and now we're not allowed to have it. So when we hear people say that they were allowed to have it and now they're not, and everybody is saying that's not true, it is true. Go look it up. The other thing I would like to also say is that the ALA does not stand properly for the people, which is the Acreage Landowners Association. The last meeting, there was over 30 people there supporting truckers. The 6 board members were against it, and then they sent you a letter against it. So they're not properly representing what the people said at the meeting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for this comment. Now Commissioner Woodward will read 4 more names.
We have Catherine Parks, Bernard Lebu-Deber, Don Sutton, and William Dirks.
All right. Why don't you read 4 more? Are those folks here? All right, come forward. There were 4 names. Come on up forward, and there's a place for another 2 here. Otherwise, we will read another 2 additional names. Go right ahead, Commissioner Woodward.
We have Richard Momrud, Marty Perry, Mary Ellen Doherty, and Mary McNicholas.
Very good. Ma'am, you're recognized. Good morning.
Okay, good morning.
Good afternoon.
Oh, is it? Good afternoon. Okay. I've been a resident of the acreage for 22 years. I'd like to say I'm in support of the proposed revision, just up to 16,000 pounds. I'm a small business owner myself. I own a drywall company, and I run my office and all my trucks out of an office in an industrial area. My husband and I drive an hour to the office and an hour back. We work really hard, and we'd like to spend those extra 2 hours of driving with our children. And we have 5 acres and can run our company and our trucks out of our lawn too, but not at the expense of our neighbors or our community. When you move to a neighborhood, I feel like you should bring value to the area and try to make it better, not devalue it and ruin the roads and not abide by the laws. The last time I was here, Commissioner Woodward spoke about the code enforcement and how many more individuals you'd have to hire. I've had to call code enforcement over and over again about 2 semi-trucks that are residents that continue to park in the swale on Grapeview Boulevard. I've spoken at great lengths with code enforcement, who have assured me that they are working as hard as they can. However, they're understaffed for the area. Sorry, I can barely read my writing. And can't keep up with all the truckers that don't abide by the rules. The 2 specifically on Grapeview that are residents that continue to park in the swales, code enforcement has contacted them, as well as the companies that they work for too, and have told them over and over again they can't park there. One of the companies told them, well, then just tow them. They continue to disobey the laws and have disregard for their neighbors, Now one of the guys is parking down at the end of the dirt road in the middle of the road trying to hide. Regulated or not, if you don't obey the laws, you don't obey the laws. There are several bad actors, not just a few. It speaks volumes that code enforcement said they can't even keep up with the truckers now, that don't abide by the rules that are set in place currently. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Ma'am, your name for the record? Ma'am?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Dawn Sutton.
Thank you.
All right. Sir, state your name. You're recognized.
Richard Morgan, 7667 Park Lane Road, Lake Worth, Florida. That's Heritage Farms, zoned AR. Approving this would affect me because it'll do this, allow these trucks in all AR areas, and that's unacceptable. You have engineers who are professionals. You heard what they said about the roads. You have staff, brilliant staff that offered up solutions. Listen to your staff, listen to the engineers, look at the long-term consequences of your decisions. Oppose this. Thank you.
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is William Dirks. I live in Loxahatchee. I'm just here to say that I think that code enforcement needs to be enforced. It needs to be encouraged. I think it's important that people should have a voice to be able to speak out against things that are going on around them without having to face retribution. So I think that needs to be changed within the code, and people should be able to report things anonymously. In regard to the issue at hand, I do believe that we should not allow the semi-trucks onto these roads. It's going to cause a great deal of damage for which all the residents are going to need to pay for unnecessarily. It causes property values to go down, and all this is going to come out of the back pockets of everybody in the community, whereas for the truckers themselves, it's going to cause some inconvenience. And I appreciate that inconvenience. I appreciate what they do, but it's not fair for all the other residents to have to subsidize their way of life. So I thank you. You have a good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I think it's good afternoon already. Marty Perry. I represent Indian Trail Improvement District, and I just really have a few comments that I want to make. Indian Trail, just for clarification, although they're a governmental entity with some limited powers, they're basically speaking on behalf of the some 16 to 18,000 residential lots that are within the acreage that are under their supervision. The issue here is interesting because it's not a new issue. It's existed as far back as I can remember, and I've been actively involved in zoning issues in Palm Beach County for 58 years. And the reality is that it's a growth problem. And what's occurred here is that over a period of time, and it's not just growth, it's a question of an understanding and interpretation of zoning codes and regulations and land use. And the reality is when the county was small, this issue existed back then. I mean, people just found a place to go. Small business owners have always been here. They've always been looking for places to locate, where they could have their home and operate their business. They were able to exist because nobody knew they were there. No one paid any attention to them. We had the issue in the Ag Reserve and Heritage Farms that really only occurred because of residential development that occurred in those two areas, and people started to say, well, hey, wait a minute, what are all these trucks doing here? And that's what's happening here. I mean, this issue, the acreage really didn't start building. It was started in 1957 or earlier. I'm not sure we even had a zoning code when it was started. Our first zoning code was in 1956. That code was 19 pages long. The subdivision ordinance was nothing to speak of, to be honest with you. I doubt seriously that the acreage could have been approved in 1973 when we had our first real zoning code, which was some 350 pages with the subdivision ordinance. So the reality is, under today's ordinances, it would never be approved. No roads to speak of, et cetera. So when I was engaged by Indian Trail relative to the Minto development, which is now Westlake, we didn't object to the development in itself. Development was needed out there. It existed for years. There were some 16 or 17,000 homes already. I mean, the reality is that there was a need to stop the traffic from flowing east, create some non-residential development out there. The concern that I expressed to the commission at that time was not as to the use itself, but rather the traffic that would come through these unpaved roads in the acreage. In fact, one of the things that we talked about was the idea of possibly even sequestering off communities in the acreage so that cars and trucks couldn't get in there. I'm going to run out of time here, but I think the thing that you need to point your fingers at is that a solution is needed here. It's not going to go away, and the solution is not necessary to allow the acreage to be destroyed in terms of property values so that your tax revenues countywide go down, but to find a solution for these people. These people have a need, and that's what they've pointed out. Something needs to be done, and I think the comments that were made about all the agricultural in the county and maybe finding new agricultural, that's where the answer lays. Let's find a solution for these people. Don't expand the problem, solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Good afternoon, ma'am. You're recognized.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm here today to support the decision not allow Class 7 and 8 semi-trucks in our AR community. The efforts of the 1% trucking residents are for their own conveniences and benefits, not for all the residents and their neighbors. I also thank you for clearing up the parking of the boats, RVs, small trucks, since this misinformation has been spread through our community. And, it's scaring people that do have RVs, boats, and small trucks, dualies, those type of things. And that's just false information, as you've pointed out earlier in the meeting today. I urge you to make your final decision not to allow or grandfather semi-trucks to turn our AR community into a commercial yard. This has always been a problem. It just was never enforced. I've been calling for years. I'm a resident of Loxahatchee for 25 years. I spoke here last month. I own and operate a Gypcrete company that has many semi-trucks. We're talking about trucks that are 60,000 to 100,000 pounds that come home. As I mentioned last time, people are painting a picture that they come home empty. I could take pictures every day that it's not. We're comparing them to the garbage trucks and food trucks that travel on North Lake and Seminole Pratt. I can assure you that Publix is not coming down my street to deliver groceries to Publix. And those trucks represent all of the residents of Loxahatchee, not 1%. They provide a service for all of us. And the county should represent and protect the residents for the good of all of the people. And I thank you very much for all your time and service. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for those comments.
Could you state your name, ma'am? Sorry.
Mary Ellen Darty.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. You're recognized.
Good afternoon. I'm Mary McNicholas, and I am a 40-year resident and a proud small business owner, even though I'm wearing pink and black today. I also represent Indian Trail Improvement District, also known as ITID. I want to clarify a couple of items that were just stated because there's been a lot of miscommunication and a lot of misinformation given. Gentlemen, thank you so much for everything you do and you give back to the community, but Sycamore is absolutely a county road that we know of. It is not owned by ITID. Also, the municipalities that were brought up, if anybody wants to ask questions or anything on it, 2 of those municipalities that were stated actually make as a minimum requirement 5 acres or more, typical to what you actually have in unincorporated area, and the rest actually have other prohibitions that do not allow it. So with that, ITID is nearly 95 square acres and over 50,000 residents. That's a huge amount of people. Not only are we concerned about the roads, but we're also concerned about the water and also the wells that provide the water. Additionally, the septic tanks could be a concern, but in working with ITID staff, we've demonstrated that this is an undue burden. Anything more than is what is written by staff would be an undue fiscal burden for our community. Our residents would have to pay for it, and ITID. I keep hearing about compromises. I'm all about compromises. That's kind of what I do for a living and have been pretty successful. One thing that I haven't seen many other compromises with the exception of ITID. ITID has specifically compromised to support what's with your staff, what they have presented, and that's 2 vehicles up to the 16,000 limit. This would include most of the small businesses that are here, including myself. I'm not certain that anything else would be more appropriate other than what staff has actually recommended. And in all small businesses, there are business expenses as far as storage, as far as parking. Let's talk about what we all had to pay today as far as coming here, okay? But in essence, those are small business expenses that we all expect for, budget for, and have to do. We do support that there's something for our residents that do operate trucks and that we figure out some kind of lot system, whichever, that would help them to continue to do their jobs and do their small businesses. Thank you. We appreciate your support for, as staff has written it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, we're going to have Commissioner Woodward read another 4 names.
These are the last 4, except for a few that didn't show. I can read them again. It's Patricia Farrell, Elizabeth Accomando. The last name is Medina Villalobos, and Debbie Vaughn.
All right. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi, how are you?
Recognized.
Thank you. Commissioners, hello, my name is Patricia Farrell. I'm a supervisor with Indian Trails Improvement District. I'd like to thank you all for allowing the residents to express their opinions. I have been an Acreage resident for the last 20+ years now. I kind of did some bullet points as I was listening to everybody speak. I want to address those, and I'll speak very quickly. ITID roads are not made for daily use of semis and dump trucks. Many semis parking off of property, parking on roadways such as Seminole Pratt easements that may or may not belong to the semi-truck driver. Multiple trucks on properties. Damage from trucks are being considered on dead-end streets, not through streets. Publix, rooms-to-go trucks, and other delivery store trucks use county roads such as Orange or Seminole Pratt. They're not using my dead-end road. Garbage trucks are used on the roads 2 times a week, not daily, not every day. They do not turn into driveways. Garbage trucks can be billed for the damage that they might cause. Their gross vehicle weight is approximately 70,000 pounds versus a tractor trailer that's about 80,000. And they service all the residents. Milling roads are currently being designed for standard vehicles such as cars or lightweight trucks, not heavy semis or dump trucks. And RVs may be driven once or twice a month, if that, not on a daily. My neighbor, I mentioned him before last time I was here, he's a truck driver. He would come in with a full load every night and leave every morning with that full load. It is very true. Who knows what's on those enclosed trailers? His truck was a semi-auto transporter, so yes, I can tell if his truck was fully loaded or not. No proof that they have been out here for decades. I've been out here again for 20 years, that's 2 decades. I know that we had minimal trucks until just recently, and within the last 4 years, I have noticed semis parking on Seminole Pratt. One woman mentioned Great View. I see them parked on easements on North Lake. They are parking wherever they feel. Not everybody, but there's a good majority, and where's code gonna work on the weekends and nights to keep them in line? Currently, the county estimates with over 600 properties with trucks. Prior to 2019, it was estimated to have somewhere around 100. Deliveries going to Westlake, Arden, et cetera, use Seminole Pratt and Southern to make their deliveries, which are county roads. They're not using ITID roads. Code not available, I already mentioned that. Majority is 15,000 properties with approximately 50,000 residents. Truckers represent a very small percentage of our community. Like I said earlier, I think we have somewhere around 500 or 600 trucks in our community right now since 2019.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Just remember, differences are inevitable, but division is a choice.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Elizabeth Accomando, Loxahatchee. Before I begin, if you don't mind, I received a call from Representative Caruso. He was unable to get the letter to staff in time and asked if I would be able to read it. So it's at your
As long as you're
discretion.
within the time
Okay,
limit, that's
thank
fine.
you. Dear Commissioners, as a representative of Palm Beach County residents, the residents' concern about limiting trucks and semi-trailers parking in certain rural residential areas of the county has come to my attention. This concern is understandable. I was previously misinformed of the issue and now offer this revised letter. For decades, vehicles up to 12,500 pounds have been able to park on the owner's property in rural residential areas, property in excess of 1 acre. For the past 30 years, these vehicles were parked in the rural residential areas of the county, such as the acreage. I am a strong advocate for small business. These residents of rural residential areas with commercial trucks are in small business, necessary to drive the supply chain in the state of Florida to now require off-site parking of these vehicles, adding unconscionable and unnecessary expenses to small businesses. In addition, the off-site storage of vehicles will add extra trips to roadways. Likewise, rural residential areas should not be confused for commercial or business regions of the county. The number one focus should be these communities where people live and play. That being said, I support an ordinance that will allow for a grandfathering of existing trucks up to 12,500 pounds within the rural residential area. I would foresee some form of registration that may involve annual non-transferable decals along with minimum fees to cover the cost of the decal. I would limit this grandfathering to 1 truck per property. I understand that the commission intends to vote on a bill today to increase the truck maximum weight to 16,000 pounds. I would have to review impact studies concerning roads, intersections, other ingress matters before I can weigh in on those revisions. And then, of course, he just goes on to close with his, Palm Beach County seeks to provide the best place to live and work and play, allowing these work vehicles to continue to park in rural areas directly aligns with the goal to help our workforce live their dreams in Palm Beach County. Thank you, Mike Caruso, State Representative, House District 87. With that said, if I have 20 seconds to talk about what I wanted to talk about, as mentioned, Sycamore is a county road, so sorry if your road's not getting taken care of, but it's not Indian Trails thing. Jail hasn't begun to build, so they're not yet a problem, but they will be when they add 46,000 cars through our community. And for decades, there were trucks out here. There were a handful of trucks, and now there are at least 1,500. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, before the end of the meeting, if you could file that for the record,
yes,
the letter.
absolutely.
Very good. Oh, excellent. Thank you very much. All right, moving along, ma'am. You're recognized. State your name for the record.
Debbie Vaughn. I respect Bob Morgan and the ALA, but he was here on a personal agenda. ALA did not have anything to do with his opinion on raising the fence height to 6 feet in the front. On the ULDC, the Section 4, A1 and A2 is a little complicated. It says not to exceed 6 feet in RA, RSA zoning, on 4 feet in other residential. What does that mean? So I think these should be gone over. It's a little complicated. I am against raising the fence and hedge height in the front from 4 feet due to line of sight. We have major sidewalks throughout the acreage. If you can't see the line of sight pulling out of your driveway, or if a neighbor has the 8-foot hedge on the side of you, you can't see. I almost smacked into a child pulling out of my driveway. I cut all my hedges down to 4 feet. It scared me so bad. There are so many pedestrians on those sidewalks. And our sidewalks only run on one side of the street. Then you have the intersection of bus stops. And the hedges, the line of sight, I don't know if you can see this. I believe I sent you some of the information on it. Also, a 6-foot fence is not going to stop a dog from digging under, going over, tearing through the fence in an aggressive rage. I've seen it. My neighbor's dog got out. I was walking my dog, and he got out. We don't know how he got out, but I assume he went under the fence and attacked my dog. I had to pull him up by the collar and grab him, and then he came after me. ACC gave him a violation and a fine. So the line of sight in the front, I would hope that it would stay at 4 feet, because a hedge never stays at 4 feet. It never stays at 6 feet. It's always growing. If you get the Calusa, I mean, that's out of control. It goes up to 25 feet. So with that said, and 10 feet in the back.
Thank you so much for those comments, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, you're recognized.
If I could, hold on. We actually found 10 more cards that were misfiled. We have Jeff Coons, Risa is here, Carolyn Abbey, and Julie Montesano, please.
Okay, with those folks, please come on up to the podium. Ma'am, you're recognized. Go right ahead.
Risa McCarraher, Heritage Farms. And just for the record, this code change, the proposed code change currently does affect all AR, all of us. So Heritage Farms, Jupiter Farms, all the farms, all the AR. I highly oppose any change to the current code. Unfortunately, you have an amazing staff that cannot enforce what you have going on now. If you open this up to larger trucks, it's going to be impossible for them to enforce it. They cannot enforce it now. You're raising the hedge heights, they're hiding behind hedges. You have companies still operating within Heritage Farms, Seminole Ranches, Biltmore Estates, all of the areas. These companies have been operating illegally for over 3 years, and you can't stop them. What is going to stop future items like this, especially if you open it up? Thank you.
Thank you for this.
One more thing. I have a small business. My husband is a small business owner. We have trucks. We have a lot of trucks. We keep our trucks in the properly zoned area. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next is Commissioner Coons. Are you here? Come on up, sir. Let's just get this taken care of, or we'll call the next name. Thank you, Commissioner.
My name is Jeff Coons. I've been involved with the acreage since I was appointed on the County Planning Commission in '88, on the Regional Planning Council, chair of the MPO. We've been trying to look for truck spots for 25 years. I support staff recommendation as drafted, but I want to stress the water issue, okay? 15,000 people, they live over their wells, they live over their septic tanks. When we go back years ago, fast and loose for this area, nobody had these many trucks go in this particular area, okay? That water discharges into grassy waters. The M Canal passes right through this. Headwaters of Loxahatchee River. That's the most flood-prone area in Florida. They're allowed a 1/4 inch a day discharge, okay? When we have a hurricane, the first place you look at is what's going to flood. It's going to be Indian Trails. And where does the water go? It can go only one way, and it backs up after everybody else discharges. Royal Palm Beach, Wellington, it's the last thing to discharge. Historically, the water goes north, and pump west, C-51 down in that area. If you end up in an emergency, West Palm Beach took it a couple years ago, and they actually put a pump out there and discharge it back in there. But when you flood out, you have an environmental catastrophe. And I saw the letters from the state reps. I really appreciate that, but this is a local issue you're going to make a decision on. If they really cared, why did it take 9 years to get the money for the Corbett levee, which really floods like hell right through that area there? So I really, truly don't think there should be trucks in this AR area, and I really, people seriously need to take a look at this. Indian Trails is covered by state statute. They're limited to what they can do. You really seriously need to look at what happens when the hurricane hits this summer. I'm guaranteed this is going to flood, and when the water goes someplace, I have no idea why DEP and the health department's not here. 20 years ago, when I was working these systems, they were here all the time. This bluntly should have never gotten to you, and staff should have said, no, this is not a good decision to make. Where's the health department? Where's DEP? Seriously, where are they? They should have been here. The health department enforces all this stuff out there. They should be enforcing septic tanks. I appreciate the one gentleman that has his restored and take a look at this. I think code enforcement is going to be pretty busy for a while, but they probably should have been. Thank you very much.
Commissioner, I have a question for you. Come on up. You're very knowledgeable in this area. You've talked about the trucks and you've talked about the water. What's the connection between the trucks and the water?
Pollution. The gentleman that stated the...
Explain, what do you mean
Well,
pollution?
the trucks leak fluids, okay? The trucks leak fluid.
Don't press me.
I'm just...
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I'll send you, there's a National Pollution Discharge that we're members of. They have a whole industrial stormwater system when trucks are based. You just can't have that in these areas where you've got the well fields and you've got the septic tanks. It's just, and then that water doesn't discharge very well, so it stands there. It's going to pollute stuff. And then when the water gets polluted, it gets discharged into another system, which is the C51, or into the grassy water system like that. Then you've got major problems. So we're members, everybody in the whole county is part of the National Discharge Pollution stuff. Water standards should be enforced better. They're not by the state. The federal government just put back permitting. It's pretty serious what's going to happen. Your staff, you can go to Paul Linton. He can send you the NPDES stormwater for commercial vehicles. You can get it.
So just 1 second, Commissioner. So if a truck leaks, I'm going to make it very simple. If a truck leaks materials, whether it's oil or whether it's material contained within the truck, that seeps into the soil, which gets into the aquifer,
Yeah.
which then gets into the drinking water of the people
They're all
who are
local,
living there
yeah.
and use well water.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Most of the stuff you're supposed to be 50 feet away. If this was 15,000 well fields, if the Palm Beach County, there's an ordinance we put in place that limits this stuff around the county well fields, this probably never would have happened if the health department was doing their job and DEP. They probably wouldn't have gotten that far, would have been not gone this far as it is.
And that aquifer is the same aquifer, the source of water that everybody drinks.
It's what they drink. I got in trouble for saying, don't poop where you drink, but it's the truth.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate what you're doing.
Just 1 second.
Good job, staff.
Next, 1 second, Commissioner. Commissioner Baxter, go right ahead.
Hi, I was, Commissioner, thank you
Yes.
for coming. Have we, has anyone found any problems to date over the past 30 years regarding this?
Well, when you flood during the hurricane, it gets discharged in there, and you were cited years ago. That was led to the rebuilding the Corbett berm. Yep. The engineer can tell you we've been literally trying to manage the water in that system for like 30 years. The trade out was taking a look at how we move water in the system. It's the most flood-prone region in Florida because they're the last one to discharge in the one canal, the C51, that does 300,000 acres. You're about 20,000 acres on the back end of it. So anything that happens there stays there, and people, that's their well fields.
So Commissioner, what exactly was cited?
Basically you couldn't discharge. So everything flooded, the septic tanks failed, and then it got sent in the system, and DEP cited it. That was the last flooding event they had during, I forget what storm that was.
And how do the trucks impact that?
It's what's there, and then what gets flooded, and then it goes into the system, and then it gets discharged. So having more trucks in that system is not advantageous for the people living in that system with their existing well fields. It's just a fact.
Do you think that the semi-trucks are checked more regularly than somebody's personal F-150, Chevy? old cars that they restore?
If Indian Trails had the responsibility and the authority to do it, I'm sure they would mandate it. They're limited to what they're allowed to do by the state as a special interest, okay? If I would make sure if I had a car out there and I wanted to protect the neighbors, I would be over some kind of system that was built to be able to treat the water going in there. That's not what the state statute calls for. They don't have the they don't have the authority to do it, but they should have the responsibility. You're over your neighbors' well fields. That's the bottom line in these geographic areas. Your water goes into it and you affect everybody else's well fields.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Back to Vice Mayor Marino.
I have a question for staff. If the acreage ever went to water and sewer, what would the cost be per unit?
I'm not sure, but we just had a meeting with water utilities a month ago in the urban areas of the county, and they estimated that for septic lines, for sewer lines, it could be upwards of $40,000 a lot, which we were a little shocked. Apparently water's less expensive, but in the acreage, when you're dealing with 1 acre lots, the bigger the lot, the more you have to pay for along the frontage of your property.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, commissioners. And are you a speaker, ma'am? All right, very good. Come on up. Come on up. I can see you.
Hi.
Hi. You're recognized. Good afternoon. You might want to pull the microphone down a wee bit.
Do I have to?
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Good afternoon. Oh, I guess I'm short. Okay. Good afternoon. I have to actually read because I don't, Okay, thank you for all your hard work. We appreciate it. We would like you to deny the proposal saying no commercial vehicles up to 1,600 pounds. I hope you understand that this will affect us tremendously. I live in the acreage. I've been there for 25 years. Our roads can't handle the weights of them, the pollution from getting to our grounds, in our water, in our wells, and affecting our beautiful agriculture. They are dangerous and also causing many traffic problems, including a lot of accidents. If you look over the past years, even the last year, they are worse than they've ever been. We are a rural community, residential community, and equestrian community. No tractor trailers have ever been allowed to park in our area, and it causes too much great risk. They shouldn't be allowed now. I hope you understand our roads can't handle it. Sorry. We don't want big trucks next to our homes. This truck problem has already caused our property values to go down, as nobody wants to live next to trucks. We are in favor of finding a parking lot. That is a good solution. And I just want to thank you and for you to be aware of what we're thinking. And my husband, my family, my friends, they're just, and they're not, also, everyone in our community is not notified about these meetings and notified what's happening in the community. Sarah Baxter, the truckers, they put up signs, they do this, do that. Our friends and family, and that we don't know directly, like people don't, they don't know anything about this. They don't know about the meetings. They should be posted where people can attend, which we said this last time. And that's it, and I really think you should come to a resolution today and get this done with. This has gone along way too long. Coming back and forth is just not fair to all of us, you guys as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
What was your name, ma'am, for the record?
Carolyn Abbey. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Good to see you again. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi.
Good
Thank
afternoon.
you.
You're recognized.
Thank you. My name is Linda Zur. I live in Heritage Farms, and there's people that think we shouldn't be here, but this affects all of Palm Beach County, as other people have mentioned. It's a gateway for the landscape people to come back into our neighborhoods, and that's my fear. I don't want to go back there. I hope you don't make any changes to the codes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments. Good afternoon, ma'am. You're
Hi.
recognized.
I'm Julie Montesano. My address is 2204 Ridgewood Circle. I am in the Indian Trails Improvement District. I do not live in Loxahatchee at this current time. However, I have in the past. I've been going out to Loxahatchee because I'm a native of Palm Beach County since before anybody lived out there. Not gonna say what we were doing out there, but anyway, there were never any rules in Palm Beach County. There were no rules. It was whatever you needed to do, whether it be farm animals, horses, cows, trucks, trailers, quads, ATCs. Nobody enforced any rules because there weren't any. Where all of these rules all of a sudden came for, I just heard about hedge height. There were no hedge heights. There were no restrictions. I agree if the tractor trailers have gotten out of hand, then limit them. I don't believe that you should keep it as a unique area as it's always been. The people moving in and I am a realtor too, by the way, and I will tell you property values is not a concern. Property values have tripled in price just over the last 2 years. Property values are not depreciating because of the tractor trailers, I promise you. Homes 2 years ago that were sold for $350,000 are now worth $850,000. That is not the issue. If there's a problem with the water concern and the safety concern, which I don't see, and there's a limitation on the current quantity of tractor trailers being allowed, then maybe the concrete pads to pull them onto the property, the individual properties, is a solution. There's never been a problem. There's been tractor trailers out there for many years. If it's a quantity problem and where they're parking, there's a resolution to that. Like I said, concrete pads, the water aquifer, I don't know. I don't understand that whole concern with the safety. I think that's being blown out of proportion a bit. The traffic off North Lake and the accident concern that I'm addressing from prior comments.
Good board.
There are so many developments out there now. North Lake Boulevard was a 2-lane road. It is now going to 4 to 6. They're building home after home after home after home. And again, I'm a realtor, but the traffic is insane. Coming through and North Lake 25th, Coconut from North Lake to Orange is the only cut through from North Lake. All the traffic, you will wait in line for 30 minutes to get from North Lake Boulevard to Royal Palm Beach Boulevard or to Okeechobee Boulevard, because that's the only way to get from North Lake to the other side. So the roads are getting damaged there, I'm sure, just simply because of the quantity of traffic. I guess the safety concerns, again, it's the building. They're overbuilding. It's just crazy, the amount of traffic. Every road is gridlock.
Thank you so much for those comments.
Thank you.
Okay, sir, come on up. That's you.
We have Richard Fazzolati, Luis Lopez, Ricardo Alonso Jr., Don Prey, and Alfonso Cubano. Last
I'm
cards.
going to go last. I'll go last.
No, I think
I
think you may be the last one.
Well, she just announced more names.
Are those folks that she mentioned? Would you please come forward? All right, okay.
What's your
Very
name?
good.
Not speak. Don Prey.
All right, the names that she has mentioned will not speak today. Sir, you are the last one. Go right ahead, officer.
Receive and file. Respectfully, could you please
Go right ahead. Right ahead. It's the clerk right over there. Do you state your name? You'll be recognized, officer.
Commissioners, hello again. My name is Richard Vassalotti, and I have lived in the acreage for almost 30 years. I also served 30 years with fire rescue, with the last 17 in the acreage. Just to make it clear, I am not speaking on behalf of Palm Beach County Fire Rescue or Local 2928. My statements are derived from facts and actual experiences during the 30 years I served. You guys already know my stance on this issue. However, it is my purpose today to reinforce why that is. Safety has always been my main priority with fire rescue. There are many aspects of the fire service where we focus on preventative measures. not allowing the addition of hundreds, if not thousands, of semis on the roads of the acreage would be a preventative measure in the best interest of the safety of all of our residents. As I've stated before, the acreage has a very unique residential road system that is not designed to safely move big rigs. I know this proposal is talking about 16,000 pounds. However, there is this big push for semis, and I think this needs to be further clarified. Big rig crashes are a continuing problem in the United States. According to the DOT, approximately 100,000 truck crashes occur each year in the U.S. Also, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, over 100,000 people are injured and killed in truck crashes each year. As I've stated before, over a 5-year study, the acreage had a 73% increase in crashes, while the rest of the county only had 7%. Why in the world would we want to make the already bad situation even worse? The sheer brute force and tremendously longer distance needed to stop a loaded semi or even an unloaded semi makes these vehicles deadly. A loaded semi can weigh anywhere from, unloaded semi can weigh 36,000 pounds, where a loaded is 80,000. The weight of a car, according to the EPA, on average is 2 tons. You cannot compete with the sheer brute force when you are impacted in a collision by one of these vehicles. And you remember from the last meeting, I spoke about my fatalities that I had, one involving a 3-year-old child. Other things to also consider would be, are these semis hauling hazardous materials? Are they empty? What's in them? Nobody will know for certain what is in them, and who is going to check and enforce if they are. Dangerous cargo contributes to an increased risk following a semi-crash. Not knowing what is inside of these semis adds an increased risk to the surrounding area of the crash. Remember, this is a residential area with homes, schools, and parks lining the streets. Please protect our community and find a place for these fine folks behind me to park their big rigs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, sir, did you hear your name before?
Yeah, Ricardo Alonso.
And I asked if you could come up to speak. I thought we had completed it, but you may go ahead and speak, sir.
I wasn't to speak, but I was to clarify something in reference to the 3 years old who passed away in the horrible accident with the semi.
Right ahead.
I was searching after the last meeting. It was brought up last meeting, and it was who passed away, the mom fault. It wasn't the trucker. Truckers go to a physical exam every year for weigh any type of medical issue. And we go through inspection, drug test every 3 months. So we have to do a lot of, to be in good health condition and to be ready to hit the road. And I want to clarify something. I don't know why we are here today. To my knowledge, we were available to have trucks per code. We are here because the code is confusing, and all over the place. We should not be liable for not understanding something that was not correct to begin with. That's right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this comment. Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to confirm that's it for speaking cards.
We have no further speaking cards.
I've called everyone. There's.
Yeah. Is there someone else that you're going to?
No, not at all. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, good. Commissioner Woodward has assured us that there's no more further speaking cards. I think we've heard very good comments from everyone who has spoken, and I thank you. It's not easy to get to this building. You got to pay for parking. You got to find the 6th floor. Blah 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 blah. So I appreciate you coming to speak. There has been information given today that some of us on this dais had not known before or really had time to digest. For this reason, if it's okay with the other commissioners, I'd like to take a break so that we can individually digest the information and come back here before staff gives their recommendation publicly and before we make our decision, so that we have some time to, as they say out west, chew on it a bit. So for that reason, if it's okay with the rest of the board, can we take a break for 1 hour?
Mayor, before we
Yes.
break, would you mind if I ask staff a few questions?
Absolutely, go right
So we
ahead.
can have the rest of the info to digest?
Before
If I-
we take the break.
If I could get clarification, there's 68 cards who checked, they did not wish to speak but would like their comments to be part of the official record. Do these need to be read in, or can they be given to
It's
the
at the
clerk?
discretion of the mayor. They'll be included in the record even if they're not read in.
So, Mayor?
Why don't you, how fast can you read? I think we're all, let's do this. Why don't you go ahead and read them into the record quickly, and then Commissioner Baxter, you can do your questions if you wish to before break, but we will take a 60-minute break from the moment we finish. If some of the comments do not say that they wish to be read verbally, some folks don't want to have them read verbally.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
can we just receive and file some of these comments, since, you know, we've heard from a lot of residents? I think we could just receive and file it, but that's,
Let me hear from the lawyer. If someone has given a comment that they don't wish to speak, but they want to have it in the record, does it need to be read verbally?
No, it will be included in the record even if it's not read out loud.
Okay, Commissioner Bernard, would you request that they be filed with the clerk of the court? And
yes, so the
public
motion is to
record?
receive and file.
Very good. Then I'll go ahead. It's been seconded. We'll go ahead. And this is now public record, what they wrote. Okay, Commissioner Baxter, do you want to ask questions now, or you want to wait till after break?
I'll wait. I think everyone's a little hungry.
You better believe it. Okay, so with that, we're going to come back here, shall we say at 1:10? Is that okay? 2:10. Never was good in math. Boy, am I tired. 2:10 it is. See you then.